Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the one and only 411 Podcast Network.
Here we go. Money Talks. It is Money in the Bank weekend, everybody. So let me first introduce to you Miss Holli. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to be here again, and yeah.
All right, we're starting with a roar here. I'm Justin Watry. You already know that, and Mr. Steve Madsen, Resident Complex. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? Good to be back.
We are in the lab once again, three-man booth, or should I say woman booth, but whatever. It's a three-man booth this week. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but let me first tell you that you are listening to the 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network, Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. You know where to find us. Rate, review, and give us those 5 stars. Speaking of 5 stars, I think it's only fitting that we're going to start with All Elite Wrestling.
Ooh, All Elite.
It's official. As we've been talking about for weeks now, they were signing with Turner.
Big news.
Big news. I think very big news. Steve, let's just kind of get to it. Turner, TNT, fall.
Awesome. I mean, this is going to be, finally, it's going to be some competition. I have the sense of the wartime from back in the late 90s is starting to come back. You got that feeling that we're going to have competing shows. There's going to be some competition. The best thing for any business is competition, obviously. So I think it's just going to be nothing but good for everybody involved. It's really good that there's finally someone out there that has,
Don't you count the TNA Impact when they went to Monday nights? No, me neither.
Not at all. Who does?
Nobody. It lasted 2 months, and they cut the ratings in half and then ran
and
back to Thursday nights.
Apparently, they still can't pay everybody. So, come on.
Well, I'll take any extra money. But anyways, no, this is much different than them. Like you said, Turner's back in it. I love the tweet right away. We're back in the wrestling business. That was a Ted Turner quote when he called up Vince McMahon and said that he's getting in the wrestling business.
Wrestling.
Vince congratulated him and said, well, congrats, but I'm in the entertainment business. That kind of set in motion. But I think Tony Khan, is actually going to follow some of the similar steps because he is all about wrestling, not the entertainment side.
Right. It seems like they're going for a more sports-centric. Something that I read today is that they're not going to have any scripted promos. They're going to focus on the in-ring stuff, not so much with the backstage.
Yeah, TNA did that for a while, and it kind of blew up in their face because they would, pretty much tell their talent, go out there for 2 or 3 minutes and, tell your story and, promote the pay-per-view. Just kind of gave them a quick guideline. And then they'd go out there and they'd kind of be disaster promos. Only a few guys, I think, can actually cut unscripted promos. And honestly, this may not be a popular opinion, but I do believe most people, kind of need to have them scripted for them and need to kind of, if they're not guidelines, something. Because, if you give every single guy on the roster in AEW, here's 5 minutes promo, first of all, they're probably all going to go over their time. And second of all, can they do that? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think the main difference between AEW and TNA right now is they got somebody who has been mentored by the greatest promo guy ever. And I'm talking about Cody Rhodes. He had Dusty Rhodes as a father. That man, when he cut the Hard Times promo, that sent him into the stratosphere. And he has been nothing but amazing for everybody that he brought up. So you got Cody Rhodes in there saying, hey, this is, let me see your promo. Okay, well, this is what I would do. My dad really liked to do this kind of stuff, and here's what they're doing in WWE right now, and here's kind of what we would like to see. Now, it's up to you to sell it. I want you to make me believe that, and you're going to give your talent the chance. If they can't cut it, see ya.
Yeah, I like that. I think, they do need guidelines. So I think the whole thing of, they're not going to be scripted promos. They may not be scripted per se,
they're
word for word.
They're going to be guided.
Yeah, and Samoa Joe's been doing a good job with taking WWE's words and making it his own, and it's believable when Joe's saying it.
Darn right. He's one of the best promo guys in the biz, too. I love watching a Samoa Joe promo any day.
So I definitely like that part of it. The other part that you mentioned, the sports aspect, that part, I don't want to say worries me, but cautiously optimistic. I mean, wins and losses are going to matter. So does that mean, I don't like the term, but is every match going to be a jobber match where the big stars are going to win every time? Or they're going to be competitive because then someone's automatically going to start with one loss? I'm guessing they don't want to do DQs or countouts, so there'll have to be a lot of clean finishes. I'm guessing they will want that too.
Well, one of the common phrases in American football is on any given Sunday, any team can defeat any team. Now, if you got Tony Khan coming from a football background, who's to say he's not going to say, hey, Let's give that guy, let's see what he does with a win. What will that do to his momentum? What will the crowd react? And let's see if he can take that ball and run with it.
Yeah, that's true. I
Also
like that
be
part.
a great way to introduce new people, too. If, you got a guy who's real low on the independence that you sign to some, small developmental deal, but you kind of see that little spark in him, maybe you give him that 1, 2, 3 kid spot and see what he does with it.
Yeah, that's true too. Also, there was like analytics, which if you know sports, it's just going to be like how many like strikes, how many takedowns, how many.
Right.
It's going to be interesting because I'm not sure this really fits into this business too well as much as say a UFC, where obviously there's more of the sports components. So, I like the ideas, but now somehow you have to be able to execute that, and it's going to feel like a weird presentation, I think, off the bat.
I don't think that they're going to get too analytical with it as far as how many takedowns, they might talk about that like when they talk about their move set for their talent, their competitors, but you got Jim Ross, who has done an amazing job over the last 30, 40 years,
something like that,
of taking an entertainment aspect and making you feel like it's a competition, it's a sport, and you're behind him. When JR loses his voice at the end of a pay-per-view, you know that you got a good pay-per-view,
or a Raw,
right, or Raw, or whatever, anything that JR has been on. It was just, I'm excited to hear him calling again. It's going to be great.
I like also that Jericho, who also always talks about this being like, a rock star, like a rock show, then he can kind of take the personality side of things where the Young Bucks or Cody can kind of do the sports feel, but then, you do still need the personalities. You do need the over-the-top business, so I think that's where Jericho will come in with his characters.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be great. I'm excited for it. I'm going to DVR it. I'll tell you right now.
Speaking of DVRing, do you have a night in mind that it will air?
I don't know. It could go Tuesdays and try to go on against SmackDown.
Yeah.
I could see him doing a Thursday.
Yeah, here's this was something, cheap plug, 411mania.com. I posted last night my new column on AEW, so if you want to check it out, I talk about all that crap in there. But, I kind of went through each night. I mean, I don't think it's going to go Sunday nights. I think we can cross that out right away. Monday night is Raw. That would be Monday Night Wars, definitely.
Right. And is that suicidal?
Well,
first up, right out of the bat?
Everyone thought that about Nitro, but then TNA did it, and that obviously blew up in their face, but we don't need to talk about them. Like you said, Tuesday, NBA airs on TNT on Tuesdays.
Right.
So would AEW either be preempted those weeks, or would they air at a later time slot? Would they only do an hour show? Could they be the lead-in if it's a late night, West Coast game that starts at 9 o'clock? Could they then air before that? Wednesday night, I think right now may be the best option, even though NXT is on there. But obviously
that's a network thing, though.
That's a network thing. That's taped. It's on demand. You can watch it, whatever. And then I moved over to Thursdays once again. There's football on. There's baseball on. And TNT does air NBA also on that night. Everyone remembers the Tuesday, but TNT also has Thursday night games. And then Friday will actually be SmackDown because it's moving to Fox in October. So Friday, I don't think they'd purposely want to go to a Friday night. I don't know if any show really wants to go to Friday night. And then Saturday, honestly.
Whatever happened to TGIF? Remember that? Step by Step, Family Matters.
Oh, man, Full House.
Full House.
Yeah.
Oh, but Aunt Becky went to prison. That's what happened.
Oh, poor Aunt Becky. We love her.
Wait, what?
Lori Loughlin got caught in the cheating scandal for the high universities.
Felicity Huffman from Desperate Housewives.
She paid like $500,000 to get her kid into USC. Like, why you would pay $500,000?
Parents cheated their kids through get college.
Yeah,
Oh
basically they talked to this guy who found people to take tests and put their celebrity names on it.
Yeah, I think Fuller House, which still airs on Netflix, which
Yeah.
is a good show, but obviously not as good as the original. But you can't expect. I think they even announced she wasn't going to be back for the remaining episodes.
Yeah. Aunt Becky went to prison, guys.
Poor Aunt Becky. But anyway, so then I would almost think maybe Saturday, 6:05, like TBS used to do, the 6:05 Saturday night.
Oh, the 05s.
But I really don't think they should completely do the NWA, WCW route. I think they should kind of, not just keep copying them and doing their own thing. They're already on TNT. There's going to be enough comparisons. But right now, I'm almost thinking Wednesday might be the best option.
Wednesday sounds like the best option, and I mean, the way you put it, I'm sure that they've been considering what they're going to do. And
oh yeah, I would say, I don't know. See, the idea was they trademarked it. I don't know if you know the Tuesday
night Dynamite.
Yeah, they trademarked that with the idea of going, obviously, for Turner, and they want to take the SmackDown viewers that won't be there that week. They want to start the week they leave.
Okay.
So when people sit down Tuesday night to watch SmackDown,
Right.
they're going to turn on that instead.
Okay.
And be like, well, now all that audience is there Tuesday night for the taking.
Right,
from
right.
7 to 9, well, Wisconsin time, 7 to 9, and they're going to want to watch SmackDown, but it's not there anymore. So speaking of, what do you think of the financial terms, the whole rumor on that?
Refresh my memory.
Well, okay, it's kind of like the XFL.
right.
They will not actually be getting paid a rights fee, but TNT is going to be covering the costs, pretty much, the production for the live show. And then any advertisement or commercials or whatever, which for wrestling isn't usually too much, they're going to split. So TNT will get their part, and then AEW, any sponsors that they can sell, they'll keep. But in terms of like WWE getting $1 billion,
Right.
that's not happening. TNT's paying them technically nothing. They're just like XFL
They're giving
going
them a
to
slot.
They're just basically giving them a slot.
So that they
AEW's
can show
not
their
paying to be
commercials.
on.
Right.
You know, it's not a pay deal. It's not a time buy like that. But
So basically, TNT is giving them the window to air their commercials, and you can put whatever you want in between our commercials.
and whatever money you make,
And whatever new commercials come in, we'll split it, or you get to
Yeah,
keep that money, that
ad
kind
split,
of thing. Okay,
but-
is that a shocking thing? Is that something that's not done?
yeah, I think it's fairly shocking. I mean, they obviously weren't going to get $1 billion. They
Right.
They don't have the 50-year history WWE
right.
has, and obviously the numbers to back it up and all that. But I
But
expected.
then again, WWE doesn't really have the numbers now.
Whoa,
either.
boy. I expected a few million, something, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking technically, it's about $400,000 to produce a live show each week, just $400,000. So if TNT's covering that, take 52 weeks. I mean, if you want to get technical, that's 25 million. But again, that's not them getting paid. They're just
Right.
getting their costs
That's
covered.
Right. I mean, that's a bold undertaking, and that kind of shows like a handshake, hand in hand deal. You do well, we do well,
Yeah.
everybody does well. So maybe they're giving them a shot.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about, a few weeks ago at the Revival and earning the $500,000 contract.
Right.
They're going to have to earn to stay on TNT.
Absolutely, all of them are.
Because if you remember, TNT, if they're covering the production cost, at any point they can be, no, we're not
Yeah.
covering the production this week.
Yep.
Good
no,
luck.
we're done. Sorry.
Yeah, Khan, Dick into the...
Unless they've got contracts that legally bind them
right.
to a certain amount
and they
of
can
time.
tell Khan, no, you start dipping into your own pockets.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not going to cover this. You haven't hit, let's say 1 million viewers. Like, if they go by their primetime average, I think I saw this, it's something like 1.2 or 1.8 TNT averages every night in primetime.
Okay.
So AEW is going to have to hold up those kind of numbers. I mean, if they're getting 400,000 or 500,000 viewers weekly, TNT can easily look at that and go, okay, we're just going to put on reruns of Bones every night and
Right.
get
Well,
1 million viewers.
They're going to do that first week, guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
Second week, maybe. But I think they're going to get that. I'm going to say first 4 weeks. First 4 episodes are going to be high rating enough that it's going to be the talent will have a chance to take that momentum and do something with it. After those first 4 shows, if it starts to tank, it's on AEW. It's not on TNT.
Yeah, I'm going to say I already wrote about it on 411mania.com, another cheap plug, but I'm going to actually predict about 3 million viewers for the debut.
Okay.
That's pretty high.
That's high, but
and Vince McMahon would
that's
freak
not-
out at that. But I'm going
that's
to
not
say
unheard of, though. I think that's
No.
totally going to happen.
I would say 3 million, but then I also wrote with a caveat that the remaining weeks they'll fall back to about 1 million.
Right.
So
And that 3 million is almost guaranteed if they do a Wednesday. Absolutely, because there's not going to be any type of wrestling competition for them.
yeah, and I believe it will either be the week after or coming out of All In 2 in September.
Okay.
So they're going to, I don't want to say a big name, but you can probably guess a few big names. They debut that person at the end of, CM Punk, there I said it. If he debuts at the end of the show just standing on the stage smiling,
Right.
and then they say, tune in this Wednesday, he's going to
That's going to
speak.
be huge.
Or a certain John Moxley,
Oh.
say a debut. You can't tell me you're not going to tune in for that, and it's
right?
going to draw.
It's compelling.
And TNT then also, this will segue into our next, they're going to have a big promotion. Same with WWE going to Fox. Fox is going to be backing them huge. So they will have the Turner backing, and they're also going to be airing their pay-per-views, which is something we've talked about the past few weeks on BR Live, which is the Bleacher Report app.
Okay.
Turner bought them on. So they already have the streaming part of that down.
Wow.
And my one major, I wrote the good, bad, and the ugly of this deal. This was my one ugly. Their Double or Nothing is $50. and that's half a year of WWE Network. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to shell out $50.
I don't know. I shelled it out for All In.
Yeah.
So
I wrote, I could see it for All In, Double or Nothing, and then All In 2. But if they think monthly pay-per-views at $50,
that's going to be a little nutty.
That's
Are they
not
going to
happen.
stick to a big 4 maybe at first?
Yeah, I was saying if they could do, those 2 shows a year maybe, and then I know they have a charity event coming up. But even a few shows, you could maybe get away with $50. But if you're only doing a few shows, then where are you getting your money? You know what I mean? Besides the weekly shows.
So TNT has a pay-per-view, or is that just through cable?
No, TNT's on cable, but they have the Bleacher Report app that they're selling. But the pay-per-view it'll be on pay-per-view.
Okay.
So you can do it either way, but they want to drive people to the BR
Bleacher
Live.
Report, right.
Yeah, it's kind of like UFC went to ESPN.
Kickbacks.
Not necessarily for the ratings. They want people to sign up for ESPN's app, and then you can get the UFC pay-per-views on there. So
makes sense.
It's kind of a deal like that.
Everybody's getting their back scratched.
I need a back scratch right about now.
Holly, yeah.
Holly?
I'm not it.
Oh, that feels
I'm
good.
not all in.
Not all in?
Not all in that one.
So what do you think of the deal overall?
I think it's exciting. I'm excited for it. I'm really looking forward to the kind of sports entertainment product that is going to come out of all of this. It's going to be, I think WWE is going to get better. I think that AEW is going to be exciting, and I'm going to have a hard time choosing if I have to.
Yeah, I would hope they don't make us choose. I mean, there's room for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, Cody was very smart, again, wrote in the column. He's very smart. He wasn't saying competition. He's not mentioning, hey, this is a war, we're going to take them down. Like, don't say that stuff.
Exactly.
Don't poke the bear. So the word he kept using was alternative.
Yeah. And
there's nothing wrong with the McDonald's and Burger King being on the same street. There's nothing wrong with a Target and a Walmart,
Right.
You can go to each one. You can do your own thing, and both of them can make money.
I'll go to Fleet Farm.
Well, you can go there too, but the other part of the report is, I don't necessarily believe this, but apparently the company wants to be profitable by next year.
Good luck.
Good luck.
I mean, what can you say? It's really up to the company. How they spend their money and what they do with their spotlight. Like Jim Ross always says, maximize your minutes.
Maximize your minutes, and I think maximize your debut. I think they need to, obviously they know this, they're not idiots, but they really do need to hit a home run with Double or Nothing. I assume they will in Vegas. And then throughout the summer, they really either need to have a huge signing or something, because everyone's excited now, but through the summer, that buzz is going to go away at some point. And then when All In 2 comes in, they're going to have something big. So I look forward to it. I'm just glad it's all official. Turner and all that, we've known about it. We've been talking about it.
Right.
So
no more of this. Maybe. It's happening, and fall is going to be quite the. I'm glad it gets cold in fall, because then I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, the deal had been done for a while. I know Showtime wanted to, but there wasn't a weekly.
Yeah.
They want weekly TV, and they're going to somehow
Can you imagine a wrestling program on Showtime? Just I mean, I guess that would be
boxing does it.
What's that one dude
Not weekly.
that I couldn't
Floyd
stand?
Mayweather?
No, he's a wrestler, indie wrestler.
Oh boy.
Not PG whatsoever. Can you imagine him?
Joey Ryan?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Can you imagine him on Showtime? What they would do?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Joey Ryan, I mean, we just talked about this, but if TNT is footing the bill for all this stuff,
he's not.
If they want that, they can. But on the flip side, I don't want to say there's going to be a power struggle at some point, but they're the ones paying the bills. They're keeping the house afloat. They're keeping the light on. So at some point, they can be like, hey, tone this down, or hey, this rating was bad, or.
I think that they know that, and that's why they have not officially signed Joey Ryan to any type of.
Yeah, I don't really care for him.
I don't care for him one bit. In fact, I was a little upset because I did watch All In, and I was really excited because I was sitting down with my daughter, and I'm like, here's what an independent wrestling company can do, something other than the big guys. And then that segment comes up, and it's like, okay, we're going away now.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, I don't even mean Joey Ryan on TNT. I just mean in general. If they want, say, no blood, and
That's
Cody
true.
and the Bucks say,
I mean,
well, we need blood for this. If they want longer matches, and they say, well, no, we don't. Again, they can always say, who paid the bill last week?
Right. There's going to be a back and forth at some point. That's inevitable.
And at some point, I could see Tony Khan saying, you know what, forget it then. I'm going to foot the bill. And then the pressure's really on to deliver. And then how much money is he going to sink in? And how far do you go down the rabbit hole?
That all depends on how they do when they open up. If they can do well, and let's say they are profitable in that first year, and let's say that they do well and consistently for a good long time, then if these power struggles do come up, then you have every right and you've got the money because you've made it, and you can be like, okay, well, I'm starting up my own network then, or do my own thing or whatever it is. I mean, Twitch is showing pay-per-views now and or wrestling programs, and
there's a lot of platforms.
There's a lot of platforms out there.
But I mean, there's a difference between Twitch and 90 million cable TV homes, primetime TNT live every week.
If you do well enough when you open up, you may be able to have your choice of networks. There may be networks begging for your content. It all depends on how you open up. You got to come out of the gate strong. Jim Ross says it can't be good. It's got to be great.
It's got to be great. And I think for all of us, I mean, I think it'll do just fine, but, the better they do, the better I do, the better all of us do, the better everything for wrestling fans. We should all want it to be bigger and better than ever. So we are looking forward to it. But moving on real quick, do you have any other news bites that were in the week?
Oh, boy. Well, do we want to talk about Ric Flair?
Sure. All right.
Well, the poor guy, at first it was reported it was a life-threatening serious thing. And
Rushed to the hospital.
Now it's just coming out that it was a procedure that he intended to get, and he wanted to get it done before he went out to Vegas for StarCast.
Yeah, and the update I got like 5 minutes ago was refuting that update and saying, no, his heart's been acting up, and he had a back...
Oh, sure enough.
Something with his back a few months ago. That was the planned procedure. This now... And I know who it is. It's Conrad Thompson. He hosts podcasts, and he's the son-in-law of Ric Flair. He married one of his daughters, I think. So of course he's going to come out and kind of deny it. Of course he's going to give their little family spin on it and say, no, everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
So
put everybody at ease.
You get that with all celebrities and sources, and agents always come out and their reps will deny a story or whatever. So. Right. It's not surprising, Conrad. If somebody else comes out and says it, then okay. But
apparently it's his wife saying that the heart thing.
Yeah,
is what I'm reading. So
either way, honestly, I don't necessarily care what it is. Let's hope he's better.
Yeah, kick out at 2, Rick. Come on, buddy.
Kick out at 2. I saw somebody say today it wasn't even a 2 count; it was a 1 count, and he kicked out of.
You can't pin Ric Flair. He's
so either way, let's just hope he's fine now. But it was kind of scary saying he's rushed to the hospital, and it's serious. And Charlotte,
made my
I think,
eyes bug out. I tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see someone like that trending on Twitter, it's like, great. What is this? Thursday morning? It can't be anything good. Why is Ric Flair trending?
There's a local radio station, their afternoon program. They do what's called the Ghoul Pool, and they started off at the beginning of the year, and they make a list of which celebrities do you think we're going to lose this year.
Oh, boy. Don't do that.
No, I mean, it's a fun little game, but at the same time, it's quite morbid.
Until it happens.
Right. You just never want to see that with, Ric Flair.
No, not at all. And I think it was even Charlotte suddenly stopped posting. She was constantly posting, and then she stopped. And it was like, oh, great. Because last time something happened, she was overseas and had to rush back.
Right.
To be with him, obviously, when he was in the coma.
Is she overseas now, too?
I think they're still in
Europe?
Weren't they just in London or something?
Yeah, that's where they aired the shows from. But
they may be coming back.
Maybe
by now.
Charlotte should just stay in the country.
With Andrade?
Ooh.
Well, we'll get to that.
They're over there, too.
We'll get to that this Sunday. But anything else going on? I know you want to talk about Sheamus a little bit.
Yeah, there's been some rumors that Sheamus is going to be retiring. I mean, we haven't seen him since the Superstar shakeup. We know that he's been out with a quote-unquote undisclosed injury. Concussion.
Oh, boy. Those are bad.
So, I mean, what do you think? Everybody's saying, no, he's in the best shape of his life. And
yeah, I think he's, 40, 41, 42 now, I think.
Yeah.
He is up there in age. I know he kind of catches flack, but because he was Triple H's workout buddy, that's been the long story.
Oh, really?
That's been the long story. That's why he was immediately called up to Raw and won the title in 6 months. And everyone goes, Triple H's buddy. Here we go. Of course. That's why he's beating everyone.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
I never heard that.
He caught the internet backlash early, which you kind of expected, which kind of sucks for him. And it wasn't even true, but it's kind of stuck with him. So I've always enjoyed his run. We're going to count down the top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins in a little bit. His from 2015 at Survivor Series.
Is that the infamous 5 minutes?
Yeah,
something like that.
That did not make my list, but I always thought he got well, minus the quote here, but a raw deal. I always thought he kind of got screwed on that whole thing with the Reigns thing, and then once it was decided that Triple H and Reigns would headline Mania that year, Triple H kind of just came in and Sheamus was pushed to the sideline.
Right. That League of Nations thing.
League of Nations.
I mean, you had Wade Barrett, who was already disgruntled. Alberto Del Rio, we see what happened there.
See.
And then you got Rusev and Sheamus, the workhorses of the whole thing.
That was done from the moment, and I think it was Rusev who was on a photo shoot on the network a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
I think he said they formed on Monday. On Tuesday, Roman beat them 4-on-1.
Right.
And not a whole lot you can do. But
you can't really come back from that.
No. Back to the injury, though, I'm glad Cesaro's kind of getting a little time to shine on his own.
That's true. He does deserve that.
Obviously, he's well-deserved, but I also think Sheamus is deserving of it. The Bar kind of had their 3 or 4 year run, so I have no problem with them being solo stars.
Yeah. Okay, then. I mean, but what more is there for Sheamus to do? I mean, not saying that he's done, but he's done everything.
He has done a lot.
He's won every title.
Yeah, King of the Ring, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, WWE Champion, World Champion, even won the title at, Mania. So he has done it all, but, maybe somebody on Twitter asked me the other day, like, we need stronger heels. We need a big bruising guy to come in and take over everyone.
He always has been one of those badass heels.
Yeah, and he can work. Just have him destroy everybody. I know when he gave that powerbomb to, I think, Jamie Noble on Raw and just completely flattened him 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he can come in.
Isn't that what Lars Sullivan's doing?
Yeah, that's for SmackDown, and we're still kind of waiting on if he's going to be around long.
Well, he's got to go to sensitivity training.
Yeah, he just got fined
$100,000
for his past comments.
Apparently,
he's made.
He apologized to everybody.
Apparently, Titus O'Neil said he apologized.
And it was sincere.
And Titus would not say that, so don't think he's just corporate shill or anything.
Yeah, he went off on Hulk Hogan with that whole thing.
Yeah, so apparently Lars, if you don't know, apparently years back made some not so kind comments about...
Before he was signed, and he did inform WWE that they existed, so there was no shadiness.
No, before he was signed, and he made a bunch of comments basically about every race, religion, creed.
Yeah, he didn't hold back.
No, he ripped pretty much everyone, and once a sponsor got involved recently and was told of his comments, then the company will act. When a sponsor gets involved.
When the money is involved, that's when action is taken.
Right, so now Lars's money will be involved to the tune of $100,000. And, it does make you wonder if that was more of the anxiety thing he had a few months ago.
I could see it because, knowing that that's out there, and with today's day and age, it's not going to stay hidden.
I can see where maybe the panic attacks, and that's why Lars didn't show up for months, is, he's scared out of his mind about these comments. If that's it,
well, then I kind of forgive him, but as far as having the anxiety attack, but he's got to kind of own up for that ignorant behavior.
There was a story that the person that emailed one of the sponsors, his username online is like snitch something, and then he, I guess, has repeatedly kept emailing, or some other people have been emailing until he's fired. I mean, at some point, $100,000, I think that's enough. He's apologized. The company took action.
You know what snitches get, right? Just saying.
Maybe Lars should have a talk with them.
Why don't you guys have a little talk over there?
Yeah,
and,
close the door and
close the door. No cameras in this room. Huh?
But just going to get until this guy gets fired. I think it's time to back off him now.
Right. Let him heal. He apologized. He's going to pay the fine. He's going to do everything that's mandated because he likes his job.
Yeah.
And let's give him a shot. Everybody has a chance to change. We're all coming around with the Hulk Hogan thing, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm fine with it by now. And if he's already got some mental health issues or something now you're just kicking the guy while he's down.
Right. Let's give him a shot. Let's see what he can do. He's got potential as far as being an in-ring talent. So if he's honestly sorry, and if he's not, that will come to light too, and that'll affect him and bite him in the butt anyway. So
speaking of biting in the butt, how about that Mr. Leo Rush?
Oh, boy. Leo Rush. Apparently removing all WWE references. So is he just...
He's removing everything on social media that pertains to WWE, and then he also...
Is he having a sad...
He also put up his email for booking or any, shows that he wants to do or commitments.
He's still under contract, isn't he?
Yeah, I assume so.
So he might not want to do that because,
probably a bad
WWE
idea.
is not afraid of saying, hey... We have this legally binding agreement.
Yeah, and he already
we
made
can sue you.
he already made a mistake last time when he came out and did an interview with someone and pretty much spoke about it all.
Right.
So I think he made a mistake with that already by speaking out. So I don't know if he should make any more mistakes, but hopefully he's learned his lesson. I know that I took advantage of his email and sent him looking for a comment, and nothing has come of it yet. I don't expect it to. I don't expect a response or anything, but I did reach out to him in case he's, cares to respond or make comment on the stories. But, we've talked about this past few weeks. He's been off TV, and will he go to AEW? Will he stay with WWE? Could he go to NXT? You mentioned maybe if 205 Live's getting a little bit of a shakeup, does he go back there? I don't know. I don't know if he's better in the ring or out of the ring. But, Holly, what do you think of Lio Rush?
Well, I best wishes to him because I don't really care.
Ooh.
Wow. Hope Lio Rush isn't listening to that.
Right?
He thinks he's apparently worth, double the $300,000 they offered him?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If he wants to leave, good riddance. But honestly, he was just like the side man to what
Right.
I've seen out of everything. So if he's gone, he's gone. It's not a loss to me.
Right. I wouldn't be. I mean, I don't think he's earned like the bragging rights that he claims to have earned.
No, I mean, even his Twitter name is the man of the hour.
Right.
And, I mean, it's Lio Rush. I understand you got to be confident, but that line between confident and cocky can be blurred sometimes.
Absolutely.
But I think he's almost making like a threat, like he's removing all of his stuff.
Right. Like, well, I'm gonna go walking. Well, see ya.
Yeah, you need your
Don't
bags
let the door
packed.
hit you. Right.
You need your bags packed. I'll carry them for you.
Yeah, I'll carry him for you
Yeah,
because you won't carry somebody else's apparently.
I'll just stand in the doorway waving at you. See ya.
Bye. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to completely dump on him. I feel we're getting a little rude
Yes,
here.
we do. Come
but-
on.
No, I just don't. I don't know. He may be overvaluing himself, but I understand you have to put value in yourself. Everybody should. That just comes with it. But I mean, if he's thinking he's going to get $600,000 elsewhere, I would hope AEW is smart enough not to give him that. And I don't think that anywhere from WWE is much bigger or better for
Right.
the man of the hour.
Yeah, I don't really think. I think he's kind of screwing himself, to be honest. He's gonna work himself out of a job, basically. And
Is that what he
nobody's
wants?
gonna want to hire. Is that what he wants? Does he have other things in the works? I sure hope so, because apparently this isn't working for him. So
Yeah, speaking of, I think Sasha Banks tweeted the other day, someone sent her a tweet like saying, how could you cry about losing and you're an all-time great, what are you doing? And then all she wrote back was, who said that? And that was it.
yeah,
And then I think she did the SpongeBob meme of the internet, spelled with capital letters and lowercase letters.
right.
So she kind of mocked that, but still no Sasha Banks. So, whether she's mocking the reports or not, I think for a split second when Bliss was announced out, I think a lot of people thought, oh, Sasha Banks, open spot.
I mean, it would have been a good idea, but I don't think she's in any position to come back yet.
No, I don't think so at all. But, I mean, that's because the report a while ago was that she would be back by Money in the Bank. This was just kind of her cooling off and collecting herself for the next month. But nope, Nikki Cross is in, which we will get to in a little bit. Steve,
Yay, Nikki Cross.
Maybe Sasha Banks out with an injury.
No, I think she's.
she seemed fine at Mania to me.
Yeah, I think she's got some personal issues with her status and how they've been using her, and they have no incentive to change how they're using her, and so she's.
And then she made that mysterious canceling of the Wendy Williams
Right,
appearance,
right.
and then I think even like her staff and stuff kind of ripped on her for doing it last minute and wasn't professional at all.
Right, and she's posting pictures from the Dominican Republic
As she's on
and,
vacation somewhere.
She's on some nice beach while everybody that's banking on her. Quote,
Whoa, banking on.
People. I mean, because there are people that work with her and stuff like that kind of depend on her to be around.
Yes,
And
it's
so
respect.
if she's not there, some people aren't working that day. So
To that point, I will say that she's probably taking this time to heal up.
Absolutely. I mean,
She's mentioned even at her young age, she's already had memory issues.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary.
Have you seen her matches?
I was going to say, if you've seen her NXT matches,
yeah,
especially against Bayley, you can see how, I don't know how old she is, but if she's already been knocked a few times and concussions, and I know she's got the label of injury prone.
Said that word.
Uh-oh, I said the concussion
you said
word.
The word.
I'm not supposed to say it.
Don't say that word.
But to Holly's point, I'm sure she is resting up. I just don't think that's the main issue.
Right.
It seems more mental
It's convenient
than physical.
that she's able to heal up for now, but yeah, I think she's got a couple of, problems with her area, with her status.
Screw loose?
Not necessarily a screw loose, just disgruntled.
Disgruntled employee that, wants things changed or figured out. So is there any other news that you wanted to discuss?
No.
No?
Nah, I'm done with the news.
Done with the news.
I mean,
Screw
I guess
the news.
we're going to cover more of it. I guess when we talk about Money in the Bank, we'll talk about Alexa Bliss and the Nikki Cross thing. That'll be in the Money in the Bank.
Even Braun Strowman being taken out of the match.
Yeah, that too. That was interesting.
All right, we will talk about that in a little bit, but I'm going to quick throw in a plug here. 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast. You know you're listening to that. This is on the 411 Podcasting Network. Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, all those places. You don't need me to tell you that. Rate, review, and give us those 5 stars on iTunes. Steve, Mr. Resident Complex.
Hey, we got the ResonantComplex.com. That's where you can find links to anywhere you can find our music. Also, it's on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Anywhere you can buy digital music, you can find the debut album, North Avenue, from the Resonant Complex.
Miss Holly, do you have anything you want to plug or tell us all?
Well, if you don't believe I'm real by now, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter.
She's everywhere, folks.
Don't find her on Facebook. Don't do that.
You'll just probably find my kids.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Well, Heath Slater's got kids, too. So.
He's got kids. He needs this job.
Yes, he does. Apparently Rhino doesn't, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he wants to do something else.
Yeah, and good for him. All right.
He never got elected, did he?
No, I don't think he won. That's too bad, though.
Well.
All right, so the reason you're all probably listening, we are now going to count down our top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins. Steve, would you like to go first?
Sure. So, as we were talking before we went on the air here, saying like it's not recorded.
Right.
You cut out the losses, and I didn't. And the reason why I chose this as my number 10 was because I was happy to see this person lose their Money in the Bank briefcase, and that would be Baron Corbin. I am so glad he lost. That was a wonderful little cash-in.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit more wonderful if it wasn't to Jinder Mahal as WWE champion.
Well,
that little 6 months.
That's even better, actually. That makes it even better. Baron Corbin. Who did you lose your Money in the Bank match to? Jinder Mahal. Yeah.
Clean in 10 seconds.
Yeah, and you're still balding. We all know it. You can shave it as much as you want.
Boy.
You're bald.
Hey, I got the same thing going on. So I'm going to say that the little thing about that part, because I clearly do not have that on my list, but Cena, except last year's Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns inside the cell match, Cena has been a part of every single loss cash-in. So he was a part of that by distracting.
Right.
And then he beat Damian Sandow. And and then he beat Damian Sandow, and then he lost. Big Show interfered when he cashed into CM Punk, and I'm sure there's some other part. I don't know if I'm forgetting something.
There's probably, but
whatever.
So
Who
Cena
knows?
has been involved in every loss. That's interesting.
Every loss except Braun and Roman last year inside the cell, and that's when Brock Lesnar came out and destroyed it. But I don't think either of us have that on our list.
They got to move away from Cena at some point, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if he was around last year during that time.
I don't remember him at Money in the Bank last year, but that was my first ever wrestling thing I watched. So.
Wrestling thing.
Brand new.
Okay, my number 10, I'm going to say Daniel Bryan.
Which one? Wait, that was his cash-in. Yeah, right. Okay.
Daniel Bryan, 2011, he won the Money in the Bank ladder match, and a lot of people forget this, but the SmackDown after, he was asked when he was going to cash in, because he was goody two-shoes, he was the nice guy.
Right.
And he announced he was cashing in the following WrestleMania. He had announced he was going to fairly do it, whoever the champion was, that next April in Miami.
Yep.
And he was going to cash in. But SmackDown very subtly for the next few months kind of told the story that this Mr. Nice Guy was kind of getting a little fed up with that.
Right.
And by the end of the year, there he was mixing it up with Mark Henry and Big Show and trying to cash in. They even did a SmackDown show where he did cash in and won, and everyone went wild, and then they reversed it because they made up some BS about Mark Henry. So that was a little bit of a fake out. I'm sure the footage is out there somewhere.
Right.
But regardless, a few weeks later, they did go through with it. Mark Henry needed to take time off to heal, so his Hall of Pain run was over.
Right.
Big Show had won, I think, in a chairs match or something at TLC.
I remember that
in
one.
like a minute or 2 minutes because Henry could barely walk if you go back and watch it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, his run was unfortunately cut a little short because that was his best run of his
It
whole
really
career.
was, yeah.
And then Brian came out, Mr. Nice Guy, who said he was not going to fall into the trap of cheating in a cash-in.
Right.
Comes running out when Big Show is knocked out. Cash in, 1, 2, 3, and then immediately Big Show kicks out and angrily, like a wild bear waking up, starts throwing his fist, and there's Daniel Bryan chanting, yes, 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 and that led to his little bit of a heel turn, and then the whole AJ Lee thing.
Well, it's basically, I mean, because you have stolen my number 5, FYI.
That's okay.
But basically what that gave us was the no, which then eventually led to the yes.
Yeah.
And the big yes movement. So, I mean, that was kind of the start of getting the one-word chant out of Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, it was between this one or the 2011 Alberto Del Rio, the Raw side cash-in.
Yep.
I know that kind of screwed up the Punk Cena SummerSlam run right there, but I
they
just
did have
thought,
a good triple threat match.
Yeah, I thought just the whole thing of Del Rio coming in, cashing in, Kevin Nash running out, it was
Right.
just pure chaos. If you go back, Michael Cole's just like screaming, and Lawler's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a perfect kind of sums up Money in the Bank. I know
Kevin Nash.
it didn't really go well or even last
Did he tear
long.
his quads on that one, too?
I don't think he did, but he may have a little bit afterwards.
A little
but
bit.
I think that would have only made it just because of the chaos of Money in the Bank and what it all represents. But Daniel Bryan obviously went to the world champion, and then he held it till WrestleMania 28 when Sheamus beat him.
How many seconds?
It was 18 seconds.
18 seconds. So, moral of the story, don't kiss your woman before the match.
No, and
or
also,
after the bell rings.
the bigger moral of the story is don't read my columns, because a week before that I said he'd lose the title in less than a minute. And then he did.
Then he did.
So that's my number 10. Daniel Bryan, obviously deserving and great moment for him. World champ. Nobody even thought he'd ever get signed by the company, much less make the main roster, much less be world champion.
And several times over now.
Several times.
All right, so number 9. So this one is another loss.
Come on.
I know. I picked losses just because they get passed over. But the reason why I liked this loss was because the briefcase looked so stupid. Damian Sandow.
Oh, I thought you were going to like the briefcase.
It looked like a bar of chocolate. Like
Actually, it did.
it did. I don't understand. And then at that time, this was before the Mizdow and his turn, so he was just annoying. So
Yes.
I was so happy
It was-
when I heard that he won the briefcase. I'm like, how are they? What? How? What? That
Yeah,
made no sense.
It was him and Cody Rhodes were feuding because they were a tag team, the Rhodes
Right,
Scholars.
the Rhodes Scholars. Yeah.
And he was the intellectual.
He was the intellectual savior of the unwashed masses.
There you go. And Cody Rhodes
You're welcome.
was going to win the Money in the Bank, and everyone was actually cheering. They were getting behind him, Mr.
Right.
Mustache Man at the time. And then Sandow
That
came in like a
mustache was
little.
so bad.
I was jealous. Came in like a little weasel and won it.
Yep.
And not sure, people ripped on Sheamus unfairly, but actually people cheered Sandow all the while. Triple H was a backer of Sandow behind the scenes. So it's funny how some people like on the internet like to, rip on some people thinking,
Right.
oh, they're a favorite. Well, some of your quote-unquote favorites are also favored behind the scenes. So
Right.
it works both ways. But Sandow had the little push. If you want to keep talking about your cash-in, go ahead.
No, I mean, it was nice to at that time to see this arrogant little cocky guy that had no business having the briefcase anyways, lose it. But then he got to turn and he got to do the Miz thing, and I actually got to see them on the road to WrestleMania 30 when they came to Milwaukee, and it was just a live event, and I got to see the Mizdow thing.
Oh, in March?
Right, and they just started doing like the alternating chants where Miz would raise his arms, we'd all boo, and then the Miz or Sandow would do it, and we'd all cheer. And that was just starting at that point, and it was really cool.
That was so good.
it was so
I mean,
good.
obviously you go from main event Money in the Bank to that.
Right.
but it was still really good.
It was awesome entertainment, and I loved watching every segment of Miz and Mizdow. That was just the best.
And it's too bad his Impact run pretty much sucked, and he turned into like
Yeah.
Liberace or whatever his gimmick he was doing. But I will say that he kind of got screwed because that's when they decided to do the title unification, and Cena
Right.
Orton was going to feud before WrestleMania, and obviously that kind of snuffed out Sandow, who was nowhere near in the plans for Mania or World Title. So they had to quick do his cash in on a Raw. Cena
Had to do something.
They had to do something to get rid of the briefcase. It sucked for him, but they had a great match, and Mick Foley famously said, remember this moment, folks. Even though he lost, 1 year from now, Sandow will be a star. And I think 1 year later, he was like on a Superstars taping, losing to like Santino or something. And Mick Foley always kind of said that loss, made him a star.
Right.
And then obviously it didn't go so well for him, so that kind of sucked. Oh, well.
What's yours?
My number 9 is Mr. Kennedy. 2007, Kennedy.
Kennedy. Green Bay native.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. I saw him recently at GLCW.
Home state?
Yes,
Oh, that
Packers.
guy.
He
Kennedy!
he kicked the microphone from. Anyways, he was he won the WrestleMania Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yep.
And he was poised to be the next big star. He was going to cash in. He's another guy who announced WrestleMania the following year. He was going to cash in, which makes sense.
Yeah, wait a minute. He never did cash in.
He never did cash
so
in.
this doesn't count.
Because he was found out that he needed surgery. And what is the company to do? They had to get the briefcase off him because they thought this was a serious injury. So what they did on a random Raw, he was supposed to be on SmackDown, but he just kind of showed up on Raw one week with Edge confronting him backstage. And he pretty much, Edge was like, hey, why don't you put the briefcase on the line? Just completely out of nowhere.
Might as well.
And Kennedy's like, no, that's stupid. Why would I put the briefcase on the line? He's like,
Because
no,
it's good TV.
I'm not going to do it. And then Edge finally was like, oh, are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you afraid? And then Kennedy just snaps. If you go back and watch the promo from YouTube, it's really good. It's super intense. They're basically like spitting on each other.
Oh, my.
And then Kennedy's screaming Mr. Kennedy in his face. Seriously, go find this promo. It's from 2007. And Kennedy ended up getting jumped, and I think the match wasn't even a match. There was a few kicks, and then he speared him. Again, Kennedy was hurt and needed surgery.
Right.
And
It's time to get him off TV.
they needed to get him off TV, and Edge then took the briefcase, and I think it was the next day at the taping for SmackDown, Undertaker also needed surgery. They needed to get the title off of him.
Wow.
So he was facing Batista in a steel cage match on SmackDown.
Right place, right time. Huh?
And Undertaker needed to lose the title. He needed surgery too. So they didn't want to give it to Batista for whatever reason. The simple solution would have been, well, just have Batista beat him, right?
Right.
Nope. So Edge comes waltzing down with the briefcase, cashes in on Undertaker, and they kind of solve that issue. And then it actually turned out for the better because that was turned into Edge main eventing the following WrestleMania against The Undertaker. So that's a 10-month story told, whether it was intentional or not.
Right.
It ended up working out for everybody except Kennedy, because after all this happened, when they went in to do the surgery, they found, oops, it's not a major surgery. He's going to be fine in a few weeks. He could have just kept the contract.
Recovered.
And he never recovered. I think it was 2 years later. He was out of the company, went to Impact. Nobody cared. But, a shame. They thought it would be a major surgery, so they acted on it. Of course, hindsight said, well, Kennedy could have just kept the contract. But
could have held on.
But it was still a great cash-in. Bloody Undertaker, and Edge comes in to, again, pick the bone, something he had done 2 years earlier, or a year earlier.
Again, you've stolen my number 6.
Well, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is another loss.
Oh, come on!
Hey, easy on the microphone.
Come on!
All right, so John Cena, because it was the first loss, you know, and it was he said he was going to cash in. He let us all know, and was it Punk? CM Punk?
On Raw 1000.
And Raw 1000, and John Cena and CM Punk had a great Money in the Bank match. Or a match at Money in the Bank in Chicago where CM Punk won the title and left the company. Yeah, that whole story we know time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
So I was super excited to see a Cena and Punk match again, and I was pulling for Punk the whole way. Obviously, I will always pull for CM Punk. He may be from the demon state of Illinois, but he's close enough. He's close enough to a hometown that
It counts.
Illinois sucks. I'm just going to go right on record and say that.
Wow, okay. There goes those
But
listeners.
yeah, so it was nice to see John Cena, Mr. Franchise, not get what he wanted.
Yeah, I think if anyone was going to be the GOAT that had the first cash in to lose, Cena can do it. He can take that shield and bounce right off him and be fine.
Exactly.
Now, if say a Sandow or somebody else, that would forever stick with them, like Baron Corbin.
Which it did.
I think that Corbin loss may forever stick with him. Cena, it'd just be a little footnote like, oh, he was also, first cash in loss.
I think they still chant at Corbin, "Where's your briefcase?"
Yeah, they did in Milwaukee too at the live event. Nice. So that will follow him.
Make me proud, Milwaukee.
Yeah, but, make him proud. The rumor is he's next in line to get the title match against Seth Rollins this Sunday after he beats AJ Styles. So Corbin Rollins may be on the horizon. Let's not dread that happening, much less a title win for Corbin. But either way.
Who are you facing for defending your title? Oh, that waiter over there.
The waiter, yeah, the guy in the... Yeah.
The guy that seated you at your table? Yeah, that's my opponent.
Hey, I like his clothes. He looks pretty good.
He looks like an idiot.
Looks like he works at Applebee's or something.
Right? Yeah, I keep asking, hey, where are my fries, man?
But
Oh, jeez.
But I like that, I think Cena won by DQ because Big Show came out.
Okay.
And then they were beating him down, and CM Punk rolled out of the ring and kind of let him go and kind of walked away. And, of course, the announcer is screaming, "What are you doing, Punk? Save Cena. Like, what are you doing?"
Why would he do that?
And Punk just kind of turned around, and then Rock came out and beat up Big Show. Those two are buddies, so they always like doing stuff together when Rock's there.
Yeah.
So Rock beat up Big Show and turned around, and Punk clotheslined Rock, GTS. And
there that was. And
heel turn for Punk. That led us to the Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
To the Rumble.
Yep.
Where
and a new title.
New title. And Punk pretty much not being happy.
Stand by. Yep.
He left after Mania. He returned to face Jericho.
Tour.
Yeah, he left after Mania to heal up and stuff. And he returned to face Jericho, I think, at Payback that summer. But the writing, I think, was already on the wall. And he lasted, I think, 6 more months before leaving.
Yeah, right.
The reason I mention all this is because my number 8 is CM Punk. And
which one?
I was going to say he had 2. He was one of the, I think, only... I don't know if he is the only back-to-back winner, but let's just say he is.
I think he might be the only back-to-back winner.
And he won them both. But mine, you're going to expect I'm going to say 2009 because that's everyone's.
Was that his first one?
That
was his Hardy one. Okay, good. You didn't steal mine again.
No, everyone thinks that one's the better one. That one is not even on my list.
You suck.
And that led to the excellent Punk Hardy feud, and obviously Punk turned heel when he cashed on Hardy. But I'll let you talk about that. This one is the year prior. Like Daniel Bryan, I like when guys win their first titles. Whether it means a lot to them.
Wait, so you are taking mine?
I'm taking 2008 when he cashed in on Edge on Raw. I set you up there.
So let's see. I got a nice healthy list of 5.
Oh my goodness.
So here's the story. Batista and Edge, they were just split up, but they had a match on pay-per-view, and this was billed as Batista's last chance at Edge's world title.
Right.
Batista, though, had just been drafted to Raw, and Edge was the world champion on SmackDown. So obviously you could kind of figure out what was going to happen there. But on the flip side, it was Cena versus Triple H, also at the pay-per-view in 2008 in June. I think it was Night of Champions. And Triple H had just gone to SmackDown, and Cena was on Raw. So it was one of those where it was who's going to win, who's going to lose.
Right.
They were each going to separate shows. And shockingly, both titles ended up staying for SmackDown. Triple H returned, and Edge retained. So they're both going to SmackDown. It was like, wait, Raw has no major title?
No title.
And Edge, for whatever reason, showed up on Raw the next night. He was SmackDown, remember?
In fact, hold on, let me stop you there. The week before, or a couple weeks before, weren't you and I at that Raw?
I think it was a few months earlier.
Building up to Mania?
Yeah, that was March. This was in June.
But I believe he had come and said, like, maybe, I don't know. I could have sworn he had said, given some promo that, Raw doesn't have a world title.
I'm sure he would say that, but he came out, and Batista, who was on Raw, came up and beat up Edge, and pretty much that was his farewell, saying good luck on SmackDown. And then comes out?
And then the Kill Switch Engage music hits.
Then CM Punk comes out, cashes in his first world title, not counting ECW, of course, First world title, cashes in, and that title then stayed for Raw, and poor Edge then weaseled away to SmackDown, where, of course, Triple H had the WWE title. So both
Right.
shows had titles again. Everything was
It
kind
was
of
very
realigned.
clever how they split them up, though. That was
It was very clever, and I believe it was actually
Great story.
Batista then who got the first title match on pay-per-view, Great
Right.
American Bash
Yep.
against Punk. I think that ended in DQ.
Kept calling him Dave,
and then
and then he got screwed.
Punk beat JBL at SummerSlam, and then the puzzle scramble whatever they
Something or
called
other.
it
Right.
at Unforgiven. Yeah, Punk kind of got screwed. But regardless, this is about cash-ins, and that cash-in was great. Not even for CM Punk the moment, but just for CM Punk the man. Again, like
Yep.
Daniel Bryan, nobody thought he'd ever get signed. Nobody ever thought he'd make it. Everyone doubted him his whole career. And here
Except
he is.
for Paul Heyman.
Except Paul Heyman. And
So-
here he is on Raw as world champion.
So funny story about that one. For a number of years, I didn't have cable, and I would catch little snippets of wrestling whenever I could. Either 2 a.m, the Monday Night Raw recap abbreviated version, or little snippets on the internet or YouTube or whatever it was. So this 2008 was right around. I did not have cable, and I was not able to watch all the time. And you and I were working together.
Uh-oh.
And you would bring me videotapes
Oh,
of
yes.
the previous night's Raw.
I remember this.
So I come in Monday night because I wasn't able to watch or whatnot, and you had this look on your face, and you had the tape, and I was like, "What?" And you're like, "I don't want to spoil it for you." I'm like, "Just tell me. I can't go all night."
Did I tell you?
You were like, "I'll just say Punk." Cash in. I'm like, oh! I started freaking out. The music rang in my head, and I was like, I can't wait to watch this. I got home. We were third shifters.
Yes.
I didn't even have to worry about sleeping. I popped that tape in, and I had to watch it. That was amazing. It was wonderful.
It was amazing.
That
moment.
actually started my fandom for CM Punk because like I said, hadn't watched a whole bunch. I caught little snippets here and there, but that one right there, I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah, I started Punk, obviously, with ECW. I think it was June 2006. He showed up with the little vignettes and said it was straight edge and all this stuff. And I think
Right.
he beat up, like, Justin Credible or, like...
Yeah, he had a few.
Yeah.
I went back and watched some of the documentaries and the matches and stuff like that.
And then he rose from there and ended up, Money in the Bank and then champion on Raw. So
Yep.
quite the journey for him.
It was awesome. Really good. All right, so...
Did I steal your number 7, too?
No,
Don't say it's another loss.
it is not another loss. We're done with the losses.
I don't
Although
think
you
there is
stole-
another that last
You've
year.
stolen 3 of my list, so we'll just have to jump around here.
Maybe you stole mine.
Ooh. Well, number 7 for me, and this was mainly for the history side of it. It was the first time that it was cashed in on the night it was won. We're talking about Kane, and he cashed in on Rey Mysterio, who had just won the was a World Heavyweight title, had it for 30, 45 seconds maybe. And then the fire and brimstone hit, and what was a feel-good moment turned into utter despair as Kane destroyed Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight title. First time that when he won it that evening, went in and cashed it.
Yep.
He's like, forget waiting. I'm just going to take
Something
it now.
Bliss did and someone else I'm
Yep.
sure we'll discuss in a little bit. But yeah, Mysterio just won the world title, I think, at Fatal 4-Way from Jack Swagger, and that feud was going nowhere. The Swagger
Right.
experiment was over, and that was actually
Was he still was he with Zeb at that point, or was that
No,
the
he was
two-time?
No, he was with the flying soaring eagle or whatever, his All-American American.
The two-time All-American American.
Yeah, there was actually 3 cash-ins in 2010. There was the Mania, then they went to their own pay-per-view and had 2 more.
Oh, wow.
Swagger won at Mania, and 2 days later cashed in on Jericho. I don't think this will be on any of our lists. I could
Nope.
be wrong. Kane, like you just discussed, he did that the night of Money in the Bank. And then later on, which I'll get to in a little bit, but Miz also cashed in then the Raw side.
That's right.
So there was a bunch of them. I like the
And then
Kane.
we got the angry face.
Ms. Girl. I like the Kane one. That's a good one. It's not on my list, but I like that because Kane, for the longest time in his career, is known as the guy who was world champ for one day.
One day.
He held it for one day.
One lovely day.
Yeah, and he should have probably got more, even though it was in the Stone Cold era.
Mm-hmm.
But, he got his run on SmackDown and ended up doing a feud with Undertaker. And shockingly, I think it was 3 pay-per-views in a row, he actually beat The Undertaker in all their pay-per-view matches. And then Paul Bearer got involved. And then Kane ended up losing the title to Edge at the end of the year, and Kane didn't do a whole lot after that. I think he turned face within a few months and was playing trombone with Santino on Raw. So the big monster Kane run, lasted those few months and then didn't really lead anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
But for that one night, he was world champion.
For that one night, he was WWF champion.
And beat up poor Ray. So,
Poor Ray.
Poor Ray.
Alrighty, well.
Well, my number 7, I'm not sure if it'll be on your list, but this may catch me some little bit of a backlash. But Randy Orton, 2013, he won the briefcase and cashed in on Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam.
That's right. Yeah, after beating John Cena.
Yep, Bryan had just rose to the mountaintop, beat John Cena clean as a whistle, and Triple H was the ref, which made no sense in the build-up, but of course made sense 5 seconds later when, as the confetti's falling, Triple H pedigrees
We
Daniel
hear voices.
Bryan, and then Mr. Voices in his head comes down and used the briefcase, cashed in. And obviously that started the Orton-Daniel Bryan feud. Everyone thought, oh, Bryan's getting buried, which I don't like that word. Buried, buried straight to the main event of WrestleMania, but whatever. Right. So real buried there. And just for that one moment, it was great how they took that moment, gave it to us, confetti, everything was excellent.
Right, and then just the swerve, if I can use the term.
Yeah, and then just completely ripped our hearts out of our chest. So... it may not be a popular one, but that was the whole point, is making Orton the evil authority figure, what's best for business. And, Bryan was the underdog, and they needed fans to obviously get behind him, and they eventually rolled with him, and, I'd say everything worked out fine.
I'd say it turned out for the better. I mean, that was actually that whole WrestleMania 30 thing. That was one of my hinging points because they had just come out with the network, and I said, if Bryan didn't walk out of WrestleMania the champion, I wasn't going to buy the network. Bryan walked out champion. The next day, I bought the network.
Yeah, and Mick Foley, when Bryan didn't win the Rumble,
put his foot through something, his baseball bat.
Yeah, smashed his TV with a baseball bat, which is a little ridiculous. Foley should know better than anybody.
But he can afford the TV. He's fine.
He can afford the TV. All right, what is your number 6?
You stole it.
Oh, come on.
Let's go with your number 6.
Okay. My number 6 is...
Oh, by the way, my number 6 was Edge's second cash-in.
Okay, that's a good one. I would say... Ambrose 2016.
Oh.
Just like Kane, he won it, and that very night he cashed in. The cool part about this was Roman Reigns walked into the night as WWE champion.
Right.
Rollins, who had just returned the previous month from injury.
Right.
He beat Roman Reigns for the title. And then a minute after... Yep. A minute after that win, Ambrose came out and cashed in and beat Rollins. A little taste of his own medicine, because those two had been feuding forever.
Right.
So Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose in the same night, in the
We're
same
champion.
2-3 minute span,
right,
were WWE champion.
That was kind of cool. That and another cool thing about that whole thing is each Shield member won their first world title from a Shield member.
That is true. Yeah, Rollins, pinned Reigns at Mania. And Reigns obviously pinned Ambrose at the Survivor Series before Sheamus cashed in. Another cash-in.
Right.
And then here Ambrose. So, yeah, that is very interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, this Shield kind of has been like this. Like they were meant to be legacy. They were meant to be what they are.
This generation.
Right.
And even Brock Lesnar has faced all of them at Mania.
Yep, there it is.
So I thought it was very interesting. Of course, we later found out that, Reigns only dropped it because he had to serve his 30-day suspension.
Right.
And he had just won the title at Mania, and I think he would have been a definite long-term champion.
Oh, yeah.
But, obviously that came up.
I thought Dean did well with the title, though.
Yeah, I didn't like his run at all. They did the Shield triple threat at Battleground a month.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Well,
yeah, you're wrong. That's all he said. Yeah, whatever.
No, it's opinion. It's opinion. But Ambrose didn't do well with it, and he pretty much killed the Stone Cold podcast when he went on.
Yeah, that was bad.
They have never done it since, and that ended that in a hurry. And you could see Stone Cold visibly getting upset with him.
Oh, yeah, well...
And, they did the Shield triple threat the month later when Roman Reigns came back.
Right.
Ambrose retained. And then big SummerSlam, the new SmackDown rosters had been set. The new draft was done. Ambrose feuded with... Do you remember?
It wasn't Bray, was it? No.
Nope. He beat Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. That's who they gave him. Dolph Ziggler.
That's right.
And then his last defense, AJ Styles at Backlash, he lost. So
right.
I wouldn't really call that a good reign. It was 2 months of beating Dolph Ziggler and only got the title from Reigns because of a suspension. So then
It
they went to
was
AJ.
nice to see. It was nice to see Ambrose with
It was
the title,
nice
though.
to see, but it was nicer that AJ Styles, who had just been fresh off beating John Cena clean at SummerSlam,
Right.
the title had to go to AJ Styles.
Absolutely. I
And-
mean, it was time.
And him and Ambrose then did have good matches, especially
Absolutely
the
they
TLC match. I think it was like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And they did have good matches, so everything did go fine for him. I think Ambrose then went to a Intercontinental feud with Baron Corbin
Mhm.
at the Mania I was at the kickoff show. So he went from champion in the summer and fall to kickoff show at Mania
Yeah, well.
against Baron Corbin. I'm not sure that
Look at
qualifies
the
a good
stars,
run.
See how they fall for you.
They always fall. Poor
Yeah.
Ambrose.
Oh,
Poor Moxley.
John?
Yes.
John Moxley?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So we're looking at number 5, which you stole.
Uh-oh, which one?
That was my Daniel Bryan cash in because of the whole starting of the no, which turned into the yes, which turned into what we know and love now.
The Sheamus 18-second loss?
Yeah, well, that too.
That too. All right, I suppose then I will get to my number 5, which, once again, I'm happy for everyone winning their first title, if you've noticed the people on my list. And The Miz, 2010.
Miz.
Another
Oh, with Angry Miz Girl.
Angry Miz Girl. Another 2010 cash-in. There was 3 of them that year. Swagger, Kane, and ending the year with Miz. I think it was November, the night after Survivor Series. Randy Orton had just been fresh off his feud with Nexus, and he had just beat Wade Barrett. I want to say it was in Miami or Orlando on Raw, but CM Punk was on commentary at the time. He was not necessarily cleared to compete, so he was on commentary for a few weeks. And all of a sudden, The Miz comes down after Orton was down and out and celebrating, limping around, beating Barrett, and Cena, who had quote-unquote been fired, and that little hoopla with Juan Cena. And yeah, Miz came down, won his first title, and they showed a little girl in the audience known as Angry Miz Girl, and she was just super grumpy and just not happy at
She
all.
felt what we were all feeling.
She kind of epitomized what Miz winning meant, and it was just the perfect poster child, no pun intended, for the actual title win. And I think she ended up making an appearance either at the Slammies or a few months later. She came out.
I remember that, yeah.
And I think her dad stood by her, clearly stage fright. She was just shaking, kind of giving a little speech. It's almost like, I don't know. It's real. I don't want to say the word sad, but it's this the little girl out there. I don't know.
Right.
I think her dad contacted them through email saying, "Hey, if you ever want to use our likeness or need our permission or want an appearance, just let us know." And then they did get back to him and say, "Hey, can you come out and do this on Raw in a few weeks?" And if you watch the video,
If you pay us.
P.S. If you pay us.
If you pay us.
Hey, we all got to get that coin. It's Money in the Bank weekend.
Make that paper.
Yes, absolutely. So Miz, he ended up making the WrestleMania main event
Against John Cena.
and beat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania. Yes, the Miz did that.
The Miz did that. I mean,
And it was overshadowed by The Rock returning after 7 years.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the Miz can forever say he beat
He
John
beat
Cena for
in the main
dub-
event at WrestleMania.
in the title match, main
Yeah.
event. And I would have actually liked to have seen that run go a little bit longer, because if you're going to do that, you need to invest in it
Right.
and make the most of it. It's kind of like Kofi. If he's winning the title, he's got to now keep it.
Right, for at least a little bit.
If you flush it down the toilet a month later, then what did all that mean?
Exactly, yeah.
So he's got to now make the most of it. And the problem with The Miz winning that was a month later, he lost to Cena for the title in, I think, a triple threat cage match with John Morrison at Extreme Rules.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was the night Osama bin Laden was taken care of, and Cena made that announcement to the crowd, and everyone cheered because they didn't know. They were at the pay-per-view.
So, of course, Cena's going to win because, you
Well-
can't make the guy that just gave you the best news
Well,
lose.
that was after the pay-per-view had gone off the air. It
Right.
was like 10 o'clock. He was celebrating, grabbed the mic, and he was just like, there's something special in this world, and gave a little speech. And then he announced to everyone what Osama bin Laden had just been announced as being caught and compromised, I think was the word Cena used.
Oh.
And then they played the, what song did they play? They played some like American theme as Cena like danced out of there.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yes,
dun, dun, dun.
that.
The Lex Luger theme, Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, and then everyone cheered, and it's really cool when you see the reaction of everyone when he made the announcement to everyone, because they hadn't known.
Right.
So long story short, if you were going to go with The Miz, you had to go all in, especially with Alex Riley as his pairing. I like those two together. And,
But
you know,
he got hurt, didn't he?
they went for a while, and then they feuded. Riley beat him, I think it was like 3 times in a row. And then nothing happened with that. Then
Right.
Miz teamed up with R-Truth as the Awesome
oh, yeah,
Truth.
That's right.
But then that didn't go anywhere.
Didn't they win a title?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
They fought Rock and
This
Cena
is
at
where
Survivor
it gets.
Series.
This is where it gets hazy for me because there was a point where
Yeah,
I
then they
wasn't
kept
able
like
to watch.
invading and stuff. They even beat
Right.
Triple H and Punk, who teamed together on pay-per-view. A lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
It was.
Imagine that.
It was R-Truth and Miz
Imagine
versus.
that backstage conversation.
Yeah, that's tag team strategy there.
Right.
Yeah, that didn't go well. But either way, Miz
Give him a
cash in.
Z-Pack.
Whoa. Excellent cash in. Great moment. Miz girl. Everything made it perfect. I liked it.
All right, so we got number 4. My number 4 has not been covered yet, and but we talked about a little bit because it was your lovely lady's first pay-per-view experience.
All right.
We're talking about Alexa Bliss cashing in. First woman to cash in the night that she won it.
Yeah, and only the second woman because the year prior was Carmella.
Right.
Who held on to it for 10 months before beating Charlotte, and that reign was, I thought, a disaster. But
Well, of course. I mean, it's Carmella.
it is Carmella. I mean, I'm sure Corey Graves enjoyed it. But,
Corey Graves enjoys anything.
yeah, did you have anything to add to your Alexa Bliss before I ramble on for 10 minutes?
No, I was just I really like the way I've always kind of liked Alexa Bliss in that how she can like there was one point where she won the title and she made you feel like this was a face turn and she was all about, and then she just like gets that look on her face and just crushes you.
Yeah, her expressions are great.
She's amazing. And then she's got that thing where she can like bend her arm the wrong way, so when she decides to pull that out like against Becky Lynch or something like that, she can be like, "Oh, look what I did."
Yeah,
then just flip it around. Bam.
I forgot what it's called. Is it like flexive?
Double jointed.
That's it.
Yeah.
She can do that. So if she's with the right person, they can kick it, and then she'll go like that.
She used it once. She was able to, I think it was against Sasha Banks, but I could be wrong. But she had her in some kind of arm thing, and she's sitting there, and the arm is just not supposed to look like that. And then she just flips it around and goes wild, and it was cool. It was
I
really
love
cool.
the Bliss cash, and she had lost the title earlier that year to Nia Jax at Mania. Again, not the probably best decision, but then Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey was the title match.
And it was a good match.
Yes, Ronda Rousey was in her first singles match.
I was impressed with Ronda, how she was able to have her own singles match, and then
they were at the PC for a while setting that.
Yeah, right. Of course they were.
Those two were, but that's normal for Rousey. She had done that for all of her matches, I think, except the TV ones. But either way, Miss Holly, you actually know anything about this? What do you think of Alexa Bliss's cash in last year after winning the Money in the Bank ladder match?
Well, she didn't keep it for very long.
No, she didn't. We may have to get a time on if that was the shortest.
Yeah.
And before we get to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view this Sunday, I actually hope that the first 2 matches this Sunday are the Money in the Bank ladder matches.
You want to kick it off right now.
You want to get the briefcases out there in the open because let's just say Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans starts the pay-per-view. Well, there's not going to be a cash-in.
Right.
Say the next match is AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins.
Right.
Well, there's not going to be a cash-in. There's no briefcases. But if the 2 briefcases are out there in the open first, instantly there's added drama to,
absolutely.
Is someone going to cash in later? So just a side note, I hope they start out the show with the Money in the Bank ladder matches.
That's a good point. I mean, I definitely think they'll start off with one of them. One of them will definitely kick the show off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know last year the pay-per-view ended with Braun winning, and that didn't go too well.
No.
No, it did not go well.
Well.
Speaking of not going too well, my number 4, Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, boy.
Whatever happened to him?
I think either his deal, he said it was like on a handshake agreement.
Oh, really? I thought he was still under contract.
Yeah, I think like the past few years there have been bogus reports. I won't say who, but they've been saying he signed like a $3 million deal. Not true.
That's
not
a
true.
little much.
No, not true. So I think he's kind of coming and going. I think he does like comedy shows.
He's a big comedy guy.
Yeah,
for the longest time in the cities that WWE would be in, he would do a show either before the event or after, around the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, he does the comedy thing. I guess he's good at it, from what I hear. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the only comedy here is how this world title run went because he had probably one of, if not the biggest crowd reaction ever heard. And again, YouTube this. The night after WrestleMania 29, he came out, cashed in on Alberto Del Rio, who was the world champion for whatever reason. But he was the world champion who had just beat Jack Swagger, and this was the Zeb Coulter.
Oh, yes,
this was
the Real Americans. And
that little run. But Ziggler came out.
Borderline, like, totally racist.
Yeah, this was like the Trump kind of inspired stuff. But we dealt with, I think it was 10 months of Ziggler holding the briefcase.
Yep, right.
And every single time it was
and that
like,
thing was beat up. That thing had gotten used as a weapon.
Yeah, he
so
had defended
many
that.
times.
He had actually defended it. Cena, I know at TLC got a shot at it, but AJ Lee turned on him. But either way, Ziggler finally was going to cash in, and there's a funny clip of during the WrestleMania 29 match between Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger for the world title. The fans were chanting Ziggler. They wanted Ziggler to cash in at Mania because remember there had not been a cash in at Mania. And then there's a behind-the-scenes video that shows Ziggler watching the match, and he's literally just sitting there, just going like making eye faces and looking at the camera like that,
Right.
knowing it wasn't going to happen. You know, that wasn't the idea. It was going to be the next. Yeah, and it was just funny that he was sitting there watching all this, and poor fans thought it was coming, and there he is sitting backstage, not even ready or going to do it.
Not even planning on it.
But he did it the next night in front of a Mania After crowd, so
Which
you know they're rowdy.
Yeah, solidifies the Raw After Manias.
Yeah, and obviously, again, huge ovation. Big E was his enforcer at the time.
I remember that, yes.
And even he's getting teary-eyed.
Right.
AJ Lee, who was dating CM Punk at the time, she's hugging him, and clearly everyone felt good for him. Ziggler's screaming. The crowd, it's really an emotional moment. It was not technically his first world title. He held it for, I think, a day in 2011 during the feud with Edge, but most people don't count that because I think it was for like 2 hours. I think Vicky opened SmackDown, stripping Edge of the title, giving it to Ziggler, and then that night they had a title match and Edge won. So most people don't even count that.
It's just like that championship scramble where you get a pinfall. Technically, you're the champion until there's another pinfall.
Yeah, there's a funny picture online where it says the Brian Kendrick, current WWE champion.
Yes, I saw that. I actually watched that.
You know, so if you want to count it, fine. But this was Ziggler's moment. This was the time. He had obviously won the Money in the Bank ladder match the year prior. So it was his time to shine. And then he got concussion. I'll say it.
Yep.
So he got the...
Who let the dogs out?
Well... Apparently, Ziggler let the dogs out because he then did a double turn with Alberto, who then turned heel while he turned face, but he never rebounded. Yeah, it was really cool how they did it, but unfortunately, they never recaptured it. He never got the title back.
There's so many turns in there. It sounds like a big show.
Oh, it was a big show, all right. But not for Ziggler, who's never then became champion again.
Yeah.
And for that
Despite
one night,
his best efforts.
Yeah, and even to this day, Holly just asks where the heck
where
Ziggler.
He was, yeah.
Where is he?
Well, we wish him well.
We wish him in
It'd
his
be nice to
future
see him
endeavors.
I'm not saying that, but
all right, we won't.
He was awesome to watch. I love a lot of like his more recent matches that he's put on. He's always put on a great show.
Yeah, even with Drew McIntyre.
Right.
And people forget, Dolph just main evented a pay-per-view with Rollins.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it was an Iron Man. So,
oh yeah, and the crowd was counting down like they did at the Rumble. Yeah, I remember that now.
And they didn't exactly like that.
Right. Well.
But either way, anytime Ziggler wants to return,
crowd is a crowd.
Crowd is a crowd.
Yeah. Number 3?
Number 3.
All right, my number 3 was the very first WrestleMania cash-in, Mr.
Seth
Rollins. What an amazing, he was the Authority's golden boy. Reigns and Brock Lesnar battling out. Looked like Reigns could have pulled it off.
I thought he would.
I thought he was going to do it. Everybody's down. And then... and there comes Seth Rollins, and you just knew what was going to happen. Just got the crap kicked out of him by that massive RKO a few hours earlier.
Yes.
Comes back to just be like, yep. And, one thing I thought was super cool. Later on, they released a little, I don't know if it was Botchamania or some other video, but they had the mic turned up or something like that. And as he's pinning Reigns, you hear him say, "Thank you so much."
Yes.
That was just like a big,
heartwarming moment.
You've earned it. I hate your character, but that was great, man.
Yeah, I have a lot to add to this one. I thought every year everyone would speculate there's going to be a Money in the Bank cash-in. It had been 10 years since the briefcase was introduced. And every single year, everyone thought, well, you cash in at Mania. And it had been teased already twice with Daniel Bryan and Kennedy. it just never happened. It always just felt like that. I don't know the right word, but that big dream, the big thing on the top of the mountain that's just never going to be reached or never
Right.
going to be touched.
That brass ring.
Yeah, and you always think about it and you just go, eh. And then even this, the whole entire build-up from Rumble was Reigns dethroning the Beast,
Right.
Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
So it's like, well, they could do it the night after Rollins could cash in, but Reigns was their guy, so he wasn't going to lose or do anything. And apparently, if you go to a little behind the scenes, Rollins had kind of sensed this reaction against Reigns at the Rumble and kind of said, hey, if, push comes to shove.
You need a guy.
Yeah, if you're looking for someone, I got a briefcase here. So he
Yeah.
had kind of like what Edge did, had kind of mentioned like, hey, why don't we do this? So you can thank Rollins for that. But like you said, excellent moment, main event of WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, who had just re-signed, there was rumors he was leaving, so he ended up facing Rollins a few months later when The Undertaker returned, and then those two pawned off into their own feud. Rollins, of course, ended up getting injured.
Yep.
And then
busted
Reigns,
his knee up.
Yeah, and then Reigns ended up not feuding, but winning the title at Survivor Series from Ambrose, and then another cash-in. Sheamus came out for that.
Yeah.
But I'm getting way off track here.
518 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and just Rollins cashing in, like you said, the music hit. Everyone then goes,
that was
"Oh
one
my
of those,
gosh!"
One of those big moments, huge pop. I mean, what was that? That was San Francisco, wasn't it?
Yeah, WrestleMania 31.
Yeah, that was with Sting's debut. I mean, just a huge night in general. The Monday Night Wars had just come to life, and then top it all off, Money in the Bank.
I think one of the better Manias. And
that absolutely was.
And I think Rollins can say he main evented that WrestleMania because they announced it then as a triple threat match.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Which had never happened before. It had either been after a match or announcing the match in advance. So
right.
During a match, everyone was like, wait, what?
What happens?
What happens?
And that also kind of left it open that, someone could pull it out. And, because Brock being this unstoppable beast, you almost thought, okay, this is a match.
So what happened was Rollins, he came in, he curb stomped Lesnar.
Everybody.
And then Lesnar slowly got up, and when Rollins went for his second curb stomp on Lesnar, Lesnar caught him in the air.
Right.
And then as he's in the air,
Roman
came in and speared Lesnar. And then while Reigns was kind of laying on Lesnar to cover him,
comes another stomp.
That's the stomp. And then like you said,
heard round the world.
And like you said, very cool moment when Rollins, he respected that Reigns, was pretty much getting his moment taken from him.
Yeah,
If
right.
we're being honest, kind of like Ali and Kofi. I know they're fan favorites, but
exactly.
Kofi was taking Ali's spot with the injury, and here was Rollins kind of coming in and stealing his buddy's spot at Mania, and the thunder that it was probably going to go to him.
Right, but to be honest, with the Roman Reigns was victim of bad time. And
yeah, the responses brought this on.
If they would have given him the title at that point, it would have just been disastrous for him because he'd be getting booed left and right. They'd be booking him against all these monsters and just getting the crowd reaction.
Yeah, he ended up then main eventing the following year, beating Triple H for the title. So he ended up getting that moment in front of 100,000. The following year, main event against Undertaker,
100,000,
quote unquote. And then the following year again after that, Brock Lesnar again. And then he lost that one. But either way, this was Rollins' moment. And right or wrong, it was Reigns in the whole build-up. And I thought they had a great match. They both were bleeding.
Yep.
Excellent match. And then here comes Rollins. Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. It's hard to say that that's not number one because it's like, isn't that the main event, like the biggest cash-in? But it is also not my number one.
It's not mine either.
It is my number two, so I will then skip my number.
I stole your number two.
So I will skip my number two, but I'm on number three, and that one is the second cash-in ever, 2006 RVD.
Ooh, one night stand.
One night stand. He announced he was cashing in a month prior.
Yep.
Against Cena in his home, quote unquote, home stage, ECW, Extreme Rules. So he had the setting, he had the fans.
Right.
Absolutely wild entrance. That's the "If Cena wins, we riot."
Right, I remember that.
That sign, Cena came out. They were nuts. He threw his shirt in the crowd, which was a bad idea.
Threw it back to him.
The fans then threw it back at Cena. And
Wasn't
then
it like 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, he went to each side and threw this shirt in the crowd. They threw it back at him.
That was awesome.
Started chanting "F you, Cena."
Yep.
And then "You can't wrestle. You suck."
Oh, they were horrible.
He'd go into the stands or go to ringside, and they're just flipping him the bird in his face.
Right.
If you ever watch a match, I would say Cena RVD, the crowd just all over Cena. And this kind of goes to one of my fun little facts, but Edge ended up coming out in he had a motorcycle helmet on.
How do you spear a guy with a motorcycle helmet.
I think it was even
that just
through
looked
a
super awkward.
It was. I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
And then it was Edge. But they had been feuding, which went back to his cash-in earlier. And
Right.
they were then going to all three feud for a while. But Edge, I think, was involved in like the first, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 cash-ins, because his first one he cashed in on Cena.
Right.
This one he speared to set up RVD winning.
Yep.
2007, we already talked about. He took out Kennedy and then Taker. 2008, Punk cashed in on him on Raw.
Right.
2009, he had just lost to Jeff Hardy, and then Punk came in and cashed in on Jeff Hardy in their ladder match.
Oh, yeah. I forgot who Jeff Hardy was
He
matching
had
up
just
against.
beaten Edge.
Mhm.
And then I don't think 2010. Oh, actually, yeah, you know what? Edge had just speared Jericho when Jack Swagger
Cashed
came
in on him. Wow.
And then I don't think after that he was
Boy,
involved.
Edge and Money in the Bank are synonymous, aren't they?
He's the ultimate opportunist,
Yep.
rated R superstar. But either way, this was RVD's big moment. This was the launch of ECW, the brand, on Tuesday nights on Sci-Fi. Unfortunately, this run got cut short because he got pulled over and busted with Sabu for drugs.
Sabu.
So not only did he then lose the WWE title that Raw,
He just lost everything.
he lost the ECW title the next night to Big Show. So in 2 nights, he lost both titles and then was suspended 30 days. And I don't want to say that was the end of the ECW brand already, but
That was doomed from the start.
it was already doomed. But if your top star then gets busted for drugs and is suspended and loses his titles, it's kind of hard to recover from
Right.
that. And, as much as people say, well, the company never gave RVD a shot. Well, they did, and he blew it. So it's kind of hard to necessarily feel bad for him in that.
Absolutely. Well, you stole my number 2.
RVD?
No, CM Punk first cash-in.
The first one? Okay, yeah. 2008.
Yeah. So what's your number 2? Or did I steal your number 2?
Yeah, number 2 is Rollins at Mania.
Okay, so let's just jump right to 1 then.
I was going to say, it was really tough to not put that at number 1.
Right.
Because, how can you not get
I
bigger than
wonder
WrestleMania?
if you and I have the same number 1.
I'm guessing it's the same number 1 everyone else already has.
Number 1 was the very first cash-in, Edge. It was super cool. They had wanted, Edge had won the briefcase, and he's like, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? Well, if Edge being a heel and being a sneaky little guy, because he was, he wasn't the biggest guy, so he had to use other means in order to be dominant, his brain especially. And so, it wouldn't be very heelish to just have a match.
No.
So he set the precedent of kicking him when he's down. You find your champion that's just, gone through a hellacious match and he's beaten. Why not take the title from him right now?
Yeah, New Year's Revolution 2006. Cena had just been in a bloody Elimination Chamber match to retain, and everyone knew he was lining up to feud with Triple H at Mania. But there was this 3-week gap here, 3 weeks between the Royal Rumble where they could fit something in quick. And that's when Edge cashed in. He had a 3-week title reign. I think it was all 5.0 ratings, highest since Attitude Era. He was the must-see champion.
Right.
He ended up losing it back to Cena, and then, they continued the Cena Triple H plan, which was set in motion. I think it was a year earlier. They already had that idea. And then Edge pretty much said, screw this, I'm going to steal the show with Mick Foley at Mania then and
which he did.
Prove a point. And then sure enough, right after Mania, the next night, Edge came out in the opening segment and was back in the WWE title picture.
Yep.
So it all went well for him. I'll quick add a few little points is 2005, a month after Mania, and he got the briefcase. He faced Batista for the world title on a Raw, but he had won the Gold Rush tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And I always just thought it was weird that he was getting a title shot while having the briefcase. Like,
Right.
what would have happened if he would have won and still had the briefcase?
Cashed in on himself.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting,
Remember Fight Club?
Yeah, perfect name for it. He could be the Fight Club, but then he feuded with Matt Hardy, who returned for a while.
Right.
And
that
then he
was,
was that was a little personal there.
a little bit.
And then he did a little thing with Kane. And then by the end of the year, his time...
Wasn't that Lita's baby?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we're going to forget that. But then they did the whole thing with Edge and Ric Flair, who had just had a road rage incident. And time was kind of ticking. And it was like, well, he's got to use it by Mania.
Right.
But I think what made it great was it was the first ever briefcase. So people weren't really sure,
what was going to happen.
Yeah, can he use it anytime? Can he do it in the middle of a match, after
Does
a
he
match?
have to announce it? How is this going to work out?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Cena retained, which I think was pretty obvious. He was in there with Carlito and Masters. And,
Right.
guys that weren't going to win. So Cena retaining was obvious from the start.
Right.
But then all of a sudden Vince McMahon came out and he said, "Rage the cage. This night isn't over. Everyone stay put." And then he's like, "There's one more match tonight." And then he goes, "This man is cashing in his WrestleMania Money in the Bank privilege." And then out came Edge with Lita. He gave him the briefcase, and I guess Vince pretty much said, I think he said, "Prove me right."
He said, "Prove me right," because Vince McMahon was behind Edge. He was, you can do this. There was a lot of higher ups, I think Michael Hayes being one of them, who at that, I don't know if this was before or after that plane ride, but he was still very upper echelon when it came to being in Vince McMahon's ear as far as decisions that need to be made. And I think he was one of the guys that was very much against giving the title to Edge at this point. And Michael Hayes, to his credit, has said, "I have never been more happy to have been wrong."
Yeah, and I always like I always keep talking about the first-time champions. There's always going to be doubt, whether it's
Right.
Miz, whether it's Rock, whether it's Triple H, whether it's Stone Cold,
Well,
whether
Miz
it's Orton,
failed.
CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, or whoever. The first time you're going to get a title, even, Rollins, I'm sure there was like, well, I don't know. Can he? Well, So there's always going to be that skepticism when you're going to unknown territory.
Right.
But Edge, again, was kind of like, hey, there's this little gap here. I got to use this briefcase. And I think even I saw a story that he was going to use it on the Saturday Night Live, Saturday night's main event, in the march to the build-up to Cena versus Triple H, in like a throwaway, and Cena would beat him. And then they'd continue the Triple H Cena build. But there was more to it. Edge and Lita were a great act together.
They were compelling television.
Wonderful pairing, so it just kind of worked out that way. And then they had the live sex celebration the next night. Like I said,
Wow.
I think it was like 5.06 rating or something like that.
Who wouldn't tune into that, though?
Right, and then Lita did have a little wardrobe slip, so viewers did get what they wanted.
Much to all of our smiles.
I'm sure you can all go find the tape on that one. And yeah, they quick tried to cut the feed, but too late.
Yeah.
And then the following week, he fought Ric Flair on Raw in a TLC match.
Oh, yeah.
So they kept the ratings going, and
Right.
then up to the Royal Rumble, and then, Cena ended up beating him for it, and they kind of went back to the original plan.
Right.
But that is also my number one, in case you haven't figured out. I'm sure it's everyone's number one, but, the first time, it's just, there's nothing like it. And when it happened, Edge had fought Ric Flair earlier in the night, and got DQ'd because he snapped on Flair for the Intercontinental title match. I think it opened the show. And then they did a WWE.com interview, because afterwards they would do little interviews for the internet crowd. And it was a little bit different, obviously, than it is today. And Edge had stormed out of the interview and said, "Screw this, I have something else I got to do." So it was a little tease, like his night might not be over yet. But like the Ziggler cash-in with Big E and AJ Lee by his side, even though if he was supposed to be playing bad guy and a heel, even if he was supposed to do that, it didn't really matter, because he was getting teary-eyed, and it was quite the emotional moments for him. So it was quite the moment for him, and you could see him and Lita, whether they were officially a couple or not, or just had gone their separate ways at that point. But super cool moment for Edge. First cash-in moment. You could tell he was emotional. And
It was a big thing. I mean,
it was big.
And he set the precedent, which was very
And
cool.
like I said, the ratings speak for themselves. Clearly there was
Exactly.
interest after this. Like, what the heck's going on? Edge is the world champion. A cash-in? What does all this
Right.
mean?
And it just kind of solidified Edge as that sniveling snake character that you always got to watch out for. If
Yeah.
Edge is around.
That made him the Hall of Famer, I think.
Absolutely.
And set him up for his next 5 years as a main eventer.
Definitely.
And-
That was the big thing right there. That's what opened the door for him, is being, hey, he can be in the main event.
Yeah, and then, retiring on top as world champ
Right.
5 years later. All right, do you have any last thoughts on your top 10 list before we get to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view this Sunday?
No, let's get to it, man. Money, 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 money.
Money, money, money. All right, this is where Holly's going to finally join us back.
Hey, Holly, how are you?
I think I can
Welcome.
wake her back up. So we're going to start with the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Daniel Bryan and Rowan.
Yeah.
Where's their titles?
Right, yeah, we got to figure out what kind of titles are they going to have? Hemp again, or what are they doing?
I think so. They'll probably do that. I mean,
All right, they can reveal those
something
Sunday.
sustainable.
Something, which tells me they're going to win, but they're facing Raw's Usos.
Is this a wild card thing?
We-
What is
no
that?
clue.
Wild animal rule?
I don't know.
I think Big E said they should add a wild animal rule, and every now and then there's just like a loose circus animal.
How about a Bray
in the
Wyatt?
arena.
He looks like a
I think the Usos are gonna beat them.
Really?
At least I want the Usos.
Well,
They're on Raw.
Everybody wants the Usos. However, it ain't happening.
No, Daniel Bryan and Rowan are going to win if they're going to make the new titles and spend all that time on it.
Exactly.
Again, if you're going to invest in something, you kind of have to stick with it.
And they need to strengthen that tag team division like we talked about last week.
We've talked about this every week. I mean, now they're having the Usos come back over to SmackDown when they're supposed to be on Raw.
Right.
So I'm going to go Rowan and Bryan. Do you agree with that?
I do. Like we're saying, they're going to invest in Daniel Bryan and Rowan as tag champs for a little bit. So I think it's going to be a fantastic match because the Usos never disappoint.
Yeah, I think it's the kickoff match. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it'd be a nice way to kick off the show.
It'd be nice. It's sad that it's relegated to just network only because maybe that'll put a little chip on their shoulder to be even that much better of a match.
Yeah, I remember the Usos had a bunch of great matches with the Wyatt family
years
ago, and some of those were on the kickoff show where they were just like, screw this, we're going out there for 20 minutes and stealing the show.
Right, because we don't have to worry about pay-per-view. We got all this time.
Exactly.
Screw the panel.
It kind of scares me that Holli has the Usos, so now watch the Usos win.
Right. Have you been eerily right before?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, she had the War Raiders or Viking name.
Yeah.
Experience.
Right.
I kept calling them the Vikings, and they come out with the Viking experience or whatnot, and then the one day I finally
said
the
it right
name,
and they changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they vacated the NXT tag titles.
I saw that. Yep.
I mean,
finally.
Like Asuka, I would assume they should lose on the way out because now that tag division is Street Profits and, I don't know, Undisputed Era. I don't even know who else.
Shock the system.
Or Forgotten Sons. I forget about that.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
Speaking of forgetful, Daivari versus Tony Nese for the Cruiserweight title. Who do you got?
Who?
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't watched 205 Live, so I don't know anything of the build-up, but I guess I'm just going to go with Tony Nese.
Yeah, I'm going to say Tony Nese. Yeah, it's easy to just go with the champ. I do not watch 205 Live either, but I'm sure the match will be great.
Yep, and I know that he's been,
I know nothing is because you don't watch it.
He's been on 205 Live and doing the Cruiserweight thing for a good long time since the Classic, so it's kind of nice to see him get his due and hope that he holds on to it for a little while.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll deliver. Do you think there's some changes coming to 205 Live?
I did see a little story, something about FS1, Fox Sports 1.
They already have the studio show coming Tuesdays, remember, on FS1. So.
But I also read something about they're going to start filming it at Full Sail, which is the NXT arena.
Yeah, they should probably have done that from the beginning.
They should have done a lot of things from the beginning.
Instead of crowds that don't care after SmackDown
right.
or
Well,
before
SmackDown. you give them 2 hours, and then you ask them to sit for another hour for 205 Live or something like that, or I think vice versa. You put it on front, and then the last hour of SmackDown, all the crowd is like, "We're tired and want to go home."
Yeah. All right. So we got Samoa Joe defending his United States Championship against Rey Mysterio. Holli, who you got?
Samoa Joe.
Okay.
I'm gonna
actually pronounce his name right this
Nice
time.
job. Samoa Joe. I'm going to go with Samoa Joe as well. I think that Rey Mysterio, if you look at the business side of things, he's brought in to just kind of spice stuff up. I don't see them giving him a title run at this stage in his career. I see him being used for great matches, but I think Samoa Joe is going to run with this title for a little while.
All right. Rey Mysterio is winning the United States Championship. All right, I'm only half joking, but the joke is Holli always calls him Samoan Jones.
Yep.
Sometimes she gets the names, like last week she said Brock Strowman.
Yep, I heard that one.
So we're going to move past
So take
that.
a shot if she gets him wrong.
Take a shot. Look forward to Dominic this Sunday getting choked out, but we can get to that another time. All right, so speaking of the matches that I want to see.
Wait, hold on. Let's back up just real quick, though. Isn't Dominic, training?
He is
to
training,
do stuff? So I would not, like you said, I would not be surprised to see him take a bump or two. Maybe even try to step in and try to take the title for his dad.
And then get distracted.
And then just get destroyed.
Yeah. Well, we got that to look forward to. The matches I want to see start the show, because then it'll add intrigue, the Money in the Bank ladder matches. So let's just talk about them. The men's.
All right, who's our participants? Let's run them down.
All right, here we go. Replacing Braun Strowman, which for whatever reason, but Sami Zayn is now in there, which I actually think is now an interesting choice.
It does. I mean, it takes away the overwhelmingness of the big Braun Strowman.
Yeah, and Braun won last year. I don't think they're
Right.
going to have him win anyways. I know Holly picked him, but I don't think he was going to win anyways. But I have Andrade, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, which we just talked about, Baron Corbin, Ali, or Randy Orton.
I'm going to go ahead and pick Drew McIntyre.
Yes. Good
I
pick.
think that he's the most obvious one to win it just because he's got such a strong build behind him. They need to kind of give him something to keep him focused on the main event title picture. And this is a good way to do it, to keep him in there and not necessarily have him involved in all the matches, but he's always going to be in the corner of your mind if he's holding that briefcase.
Yeah, I'm not even sure outside of Corbin. I'm not even sure because he's won it and lost it.
Corbin.
I'm not even sure there's a bad choice here. Andrade, they could get behind him,
Yep,
which
absolutely.
never a bad idea. There's Ricochet, high flying,
Love
obviously.
Ricochet.
Drew McIntyre, how can you go wrong with Finn Balor? There's Sami Zayn.
Wait. Now back that up. Finn Balor would be the wrong choice, in my opinion.
Intercontinental.
Because he's got the Intercontinental title. He needs to focus on that.
Miz won also in 2010 with titles.
And that was the Miz.
He had 1 million titles at that point. He had like 4 tag gold because
Right.
they had all the titles still and the U.S. titles still. But anyways, it's not a bad choice only because, it's 12 months with the briefcase. So he can focus on the Intercontinental title reign forever. And then in 6 months, whatever, he can have the briefcase. That's
Yeah,
fine.
but if I was booking it, the titles, everybody that holds the title has to defend it at a pay-per-view. So if he's doing that and carrying the briefcase, you can kind of almost, okay, he got the crap kicked out of him in his match. He's not going to cash in. Oh, he had a real easy match. Maybe he'll cash in.
Yeah, we've said this a few weeks ago. They should focus on those titles.
Agreed.
And actually, Holly, the other night while watching, she said, why is he a champion and in the ladder match?
Right? I agree. I totally agree with that.
And that's something we've talked about. But back to the list, Ali, it'd be a nice little story if he came out and attacked Kofi Kingston. A little revenge there. And if he wanted to turn, I know he doesn't want to, but if that was the idea. And then even Randy Orton, I don't think he'll win. But
Yeah, Randy Orton's, I think, is there just for
yeah, he's the
nostalgia.
veteran. He's
Yeah.
in the legacy.
some credibility to
he's
the
in the
thing. He's won it before,
He's won it before. He's cashed in before. I think just for his reduced schedule, and he's not necessarily full-time. I don't think he'll do it, but I like the Drew McIntyre pick. I
I
think
get paid more for this, right?
I've said it before, but probably. And then I like the Raw getting one and SmackDown getting the other, which we'll get to. But Holly, who do you think of the men?
Well, I've got my first and my second pick.
Okay, who you got?
Ricochet.
That'd be cool.
Well, kind of because he's new into it, and it would be nice if he won the Money in the Bank because, well, he's got that agility to come in. He was on SmackDown the other night and pretty much pushed the Andrade off
Yeah.
the ladder.
Yeah, he already
so-
posed with the briefcase.
That was pretty cool.
So-
I love how he did that little jump, bang, bang.
Oh,
and there he is
they're
at
going to
the
do
top.
some ridiculous things
And,
in the ladder match.
and my second one is kind of a change.
Uh-oh.
It was Braun.
It was? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, that doesn't work now, does it?
I also had the one for SmackDown, too, because I had one for each. But I'm picking Ricochet and McIntyre.
Really? No
Ooh.
Finn Balor? I thought you liked Finn Balor.
I don't think he should be even in it.
Whoa.
Boom. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, all of us thinking Drew McIntyre usually means it's not going to be Drew
Yeah, right?
So,
If everybody's thinking that, they're going to
Well,
figure out
that
how
is
to...
my second pick.
Right.
okay, Ricochet. All right. I would definitely like that. Like I said, I don't know if there's necessarily a bad choice besides probably Corbin or Orton. The rest I'd probably
Corbin
be fine
would be a
with.
horrible choice.
Well, if it's him and
Horrible
Rollins next.
choice.
All right, the women's ladder match. No more Alexa Bliss. First, let's talk about that quick. What do you think? Another concussion is the rumor.
He said the word.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Say that
maybe
word.
she should just stick to her talk show instead
Yeah.
of wrestling because she's been out so much since.
She seems to be injury prone now.
Yeah, since the first time I saw her in last year's Money in the Bank, she hasn't really competed much since then.
Right.
It's just like. yeah.
Agreed. I mean, she's got to do something about her style or whatever it is. I don't know what is going on. But
I hope it's not a concussion. If it is, each one you get, you're more likely and they're more serious.
Right.
It only gets worse.
Didn't they say that Troy Aikman, from his years in football, because of how many concussions he has the brain of an 84-year-old Alzheimer's patient?
Yeah, it's not good, and she's definitely young enough. The problem is if she just did the Moment of Bliss stuff, you don't get your bonuses, you don't get extra money.
And you got to be nervous because there's another performer who we will not name that also had too many concussions, and it was tragic. Let's just leave it at that.
Let's not go there. But good news, at least I think, Nikki Cross is replacing her.
That was awesome. I really liked her getting replaced.
She won on Raw.
Replacement in that Raw match, and now she's on Raw and she's competing. There she is, Justin. There she is.
There she is. I wonder if Bliss will almost kind of like manipulate her and kind of use her with the contract.
It's kind of looking like that,
almost
isn't it?
Almost like a Miz and Mizdow, where then Nikki's like, wait, am I being used here?
Right.
Because she's kind of the new girl on Raw.
And what if they're going to trail away from the Moment of Bliss segments into this kind of role with Alexa Bliss, kind of mentoring or just being kind of a side stage manipulator? If she is truly like medically disqualified, let's say she's had so many concussions that they just say, we're done with you.
Yeah, as much as we all love Nikki Cross, I'm going to say she won't win because that would be another briefcase on Raw.
Right.
So let's go through the competitors here. We got Ember Moon, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Bailey, Natalya, Naomi, Carmella, and of course Nikki Cross I mentioned. So Mr. Steve, who do you got?
I'm gonna go off on a limb here. I'm gonna say Bailey for SmackDown. Okay. Yeah, I could see her. She's gotten a little bit of a fire, a little bit of an edge now that she's kind of soloed away from Sasha Banks for whatever reason, and she needs to really reignite her career. She's kind of got that trajectory going with her little bit of promos and her on-screen work. So now I think would be a really good time to give her a briefcase, let her walk around with that for a little while, always be in the back of the mind, always kind of playing a little part in this main event picture. I think her time is coming.
Yeah, if she's done with the Boston Hug Connection and on a new brand, she does need something. She can't just kind of sit there and flounder.
I did see Boston Hug Connection T-shirts on clearance on the website. Just saying.
5 cents each?
Right.
Carmella won it 2 years ago. I don't think they're going to go back to that. Naomi's has
and
the
what
title.
did she do with it? I mean, she had a horrible run.
Well, James Ellsworthless could come back, or Corey Graves could get involved. But either way, Naomi.
He's on the no bump list.
Yeah, so is Ellsworthless. But anyways. Naomi, no thank you. Natalya, no thank you. Dana Brooke, it'd be kind of cool for her because she is super hardworking and everyone says amazing things about her, but no. Mandy Rose, she seems to have issues with Sonya Deville, her tag team partner.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say no, even though that might be a dark horse pick there.
I could see that.
I don't
Either
think...
Sonya helping her to win, and then maybe they have some type, maybe it's the first time women put the briefcase on the line. That could be a thing.
That would be a thing. I'm not against that. I would like Nikki Cross, but again, if Raw's already going to get Drew McIntyre, I'm going to go with SmackDown and say it's more of a wish, but Ember Moon, because I've been a fan of her forever, and every time it seems like they're going to do something with them, they don't.
Or she gets hurt.
I hope not. She needs to stay healthy. And I actually like your Bailey idea.
I like
and that kind of goes into my Charlotte Becky Lynch pick, which we'll get to that a little bit later. Miss Holly, who do you have with the women briefcase?
Well, I've got 3 picks.
3? So are you just gonna throw the dice?
How about we just have 8 picks?
No. I have my
9.
backups just in case I'm wrong about my first pick.
Well, I would like to say that you had Braun and Bliss, and both were taken out.
Yes, exactly. Why do you think I need to have that backup plan just in case?
All right, who are your 3?
Well, my number 3, if the first 2 don't win, would probably be Ember Moon.
Nice.
Ember Moon on number 3. All right.
Number 3. Who's number 2?
Nikki Cross.
Ooh, nice choice.
I like the idea. I think if she's going to win and be added,
it would make sense. It'd be a good story.
It'd get her involved.
It would be.
It's kind of like when Zack Ryder was added to the WrestleMania ladder match in 2016 and then won the Intercontinental.
Won it, and then lost it the next day to The Miz.
Oh, boy. All right. And who's your number 1?
Well, it kind of goes with both of you guys.
Bailey?
Whoa.
Okay.
Look at that. So since we're all in agreement, none of this is going to happen.
It's going to be Dana Brooke. Mark it down.
Mark it down now, folks.
Come back here in a week, Dana Brooke. All right. So I don't know what order they're going in, but Becky Lynch will be defending both of her titles.
Yep.
So let's just, talk about the one I think she'll win. Raw championship match, Becky Lynch.
Absolutely.
Yes,
She's
most
gonna
definitely.
defeat Lacey Evans, we all agree?
Again, Lacey is not ready. She's too new, so it doesn't seem credible for her to have a decent run with the title yet.
Nope.
But it could be a good match, too.
Company officials love her. They are obviously on board with her. She's getting the first, post Ronda Rousey feud,
Right.
so obviously a huge backing there. But
Just not time yet.
I would assume Becky Lynch will eventually end up on the Raw brand and stay
Right.
there, especially with her Rollins relationship.
Right.
But I don't know if that
Which
means
is confirmed.
finally.
Ooh.
Which I don't think Lacey wins, but it makes sense why then Becky would say, "I'm staying on Raw to get my title back."
I suppose that could be that, or maybe they end in some type of schmaz, and she'd be like, "Well, I'm gonna go to Raw and just take care of this once and for all."
Yeah, like I said, I don't know the order of these, so this is why it's all kind of up in the air with the briefcases and stuff. But she is also defending the SmackDown Women's title against Charlotte, hopefully for the last time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully for the last time. I do see Charlotte taking this one. I see her
Most
being a
definitely.
little conniving. Becky's beat up. It's a question of whether they're going to do them back to back, because that will kind of solidify it.
Yeah,
Or they could do it where they open up with one and then
later on.
go on to the next one type thing, give her some time to recover. If that happens, I'd almost be willing to bet she retains both.
Yeah, this is just an impossible card to predict unless you know the match order. Which,
Exactly.
I mean, you don't know if the ladder matches will be on last or before, or if they're going to get cashed in. It's just tough. And then when she's got two matches, are they back to back? Which one is first? So it's tough to say. I will say she has a bunch of Becky Two Belts merchandise that just came out.
There's a
Kinda
lot of that.
Kind of like the Kofi with the title shirt,
Right,
where
right.
you kind of assume, well, he's going to hold on to it for a while.
Then again, how many Boston Hug Connection shirts are there?
Yeah, that's
you know
true,
what I'm saying?
too.
They're on clearance.
Yeah. So I would almost say that she will. I would almost say she will retain both, but I think at some point they do need to split up the titles. That's why they haven't been unified yet.
Right. There's not a purple belt out there.
No. Well, cruiserweight, does that count?
No.
All right. So then I would say either Bailey shows a little attitude, not necessarily a heel turn, but
Right. But just gets a little more edge to her.
yeah, or she can cash in on Charlotte and Becky, and then
That would be cool.
and then Bailey and Charlotte can feud on SmackDown. for
And
the
that
title.
could be a way of protecting Becky
right, exactly.
and moving the title to SmackDown, Becky going to Raw and doing her thing, and then it still protects Becky because she just had a hellacious match with Charlotte, and then Bailey and Charlotte could do their thing on SmackDown and stay over there.
Yeah, I know the wild card rule is in effect now, but at some point
Wild what?
I think that
Wild animal?
the two titles will have to be off Becky, and they will kind of have to focus. But I would almost think she gets by the first night because they're making a big deal out of her losing one of them. But she can survive one night and then drop it later. But we are going to now talk about The Miz versus Shane inside a steel cage.
Can we be done?
I think
I
this is
fast
it.
forwarded through all of their whatever it was. I DVR'd some of this stuff, and I'm just done with Shane being a quote-unquote competitor. He's
I think
a
he beat one of the
business guy.
Usos on SmackDown.
Yeah,
in their
yeah,
big
he
tag.
pinned one of the Usos because he did his coast to coast. Because look again, Shane jumped off of something.
Yeah, he's going to jump something on the cage.
Oh, of course he is. And
And
I hope we're done with this Shane McMahon. Just get hurt
Well,
and go relax.
It seems he's heading into a feud with Reigns. So
Yeah, I see that too.
Miz is going to win. He's done a whole lot of losing on Raw, which is why I'm afraid of that move in the first place. But
Right.
Miz probably should have won at Mania and definitely needs to win here and end it. Holly, who do you think wins?
Do you want my honest opinion or just to throw out a name?
Honest. opinion.
Honest.
We're all about honesty.
We
here in
like
the lab.
honesty.
We in the lab, nothing but honesty.
Do you want it G-rated?
G-rated?
PG.
PG's fine.
You can say ass.
I don't give a crap
Okay. Wow.
because this has gone on long enough, and honestly, I'm probably gonna end up falling asleep halfway through this.
You and me both.
All right. Speaking of falling asleep, Roman Reigns versus Elias. Who you got?
Well, I mean, obviously Roman Reigns.
Reigns seems like
it's-
the perfect, and I
They're
wanna
not going to have him lose to Elias.
I would say easy win, but if the McMahons get involved and this feud is going to last forever, Reigns getting screwed, may be the best option here, as much as that kind of sucks. All right, now to some serious business. WWE Champion Kofi Kingston against Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. I'm going to go with Kofi Kingston. I think, again, it's going to be a phenomenal match. Kevin's going to bring it like he always does, but I think that, like you said, they've invested in Kofi with the WrestleMania moment. I think they're going to let him keep it at least until SummerSlam.
Is Big E going to return?
No, not yet. Too soon.
Too soon?
I don't think he's healed up yet. I mean, if you think about a meniscus, the knee doesn't have a whole lot of blood flow. So when you think about that kind of tendon, it takes at least a good long time. And then once you heal, you got to go through rehab and build all that stuff back up. So I think we've got a little time.
I did think it was cool on SmackDown. They teased Zayn getting the contract and then Owens being champion, and then those two kind of butting heads again. Miss Holly, do you have Kofi or Kevin Owens?
Kevin Owens.
Whoa! New champion, really? Mm-hmm. And do I need to ask why, or should I just assume you don't give a crap?
No, that's only with the Shane and Miz.
Ooh.
Honestly, I kind of think Kevin Owens will come out the champ because Kofi's strong enough to handle it, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to retain it much longer.
Okay, I definitely think he will hold it for a while, but at the same time, I would not be against Kevin Owens as champion. We've talked about this before. He hasn't, held the title since Universal, however, 2.5 years ago or something. So he missed Mania and kind of got screwed over, and this could have been the Mania match. But, if he wants to get this little reward, that's fine. But I'm going to go with Kofi. Like you said, probably at least till SummerSlam, maybe even longer, but I guess it depends on which opponents they have lined up for him, like Randy Orton, who may be next. All right, so what I think is going to be the main event, and hopefully a briefcase is floating out there somewhere, but Universal Champion Seth Rollins defending against AJ Styles, first time ever in WWE. Who you got?
Oh, well, when they first fought in the Independence, I think AJ went over, if I recall correctly.
Not a clue.
If I recall seeing when AJ first came to WWE, they did a thing on him on the network.
Okay.
Did a special on him.
That's cool.
And talked about like his run on the Independence, and one of the things they highlighted was AJ Styles versus Tyler Black. Which was Seth Rollins on the Independence.
I see.
So I believe that AJ being the visiting veteran, to this particular independent promotion, I think he went over on Seth Rollins. So now Seth Rollins being the number one guy in WWE, I'm thinking it's going to be Seth. He's going to hold on to that for just a little bit. He's not going to lose it that quick.
No, I don't think he's going to lose it right away. AJ Styles won't be a bad idea, but if Rollins and Corbin is up next, unfortunately, it may seem like AJ Styles is going to lose. Miss Holly, who do you have winning this match?
Rollins.
Okay. I agree. I think Rollins is going to win. I think and I hope that this match is like 30 minutes long and it's excellent and it lives up to the hype and they can
Absolutely.
And I know they're excited
for that.
Yeah, this is definitely the match that should steal the show, and even though they're going to Saudi Arabia soon, there's Stomping Grounds in June, which is the next pay-per-view, and that's a little weird, but I wouldn't be opposed to a rematch or them kind of doing what they did with Reigns and Styles after Mania in 2016, where first they have a drag-out war, and then the next one is just Extreme Rules and brawling everywhere.
Right.
So they can ratchet it up a little.
You think AJ and Seth are like, so do you remember what we did back then? You want to do some of that? I mean, it's easy, right?
It wouldn't shock me if they had it all move by move, like Flair and Steamboat.
Yeah.
Just each night. Hey, which one you want to do? Let's do Tuesdays. And then...
Yeah, let's do match number 529.7. Oh yeah, we got that one.
Got it. 45 minutes. Let's do it.
There we go.
All right, I'm going to go with Rollins retaining and maybe hopefully Drew McIntyre's stalking around with a briefcase.
Think he's going to cash it in?
Oh, boy. I don't think so right away, but let's just get past Drew winning the briefcase first.
I think I wonder if what are the likelihood of having two cash-ins same night, the night that they're won?
No, they got to keep one because
keep one floating.
It's a break glass in case of emergency thing. You always got to have one handy,
right?
Because say in a few months someone gets hurt, they're like, "Well, now what do we do?"
Cash in.
Do the cash in.
Right.
You always got to have that backup. It's like a net. It's a safety net.
It's kind of a little safety net for the writers. I see what they did there.
See what they did there? They kind of created something to bail them out.
Indeed.
All right. Speaking of bailing out, I think we are going to end it there.
We're like creeping on 2 hours, man.
We are creeping on. If you're still listening to this, I love you. So this is the 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network, Google, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere I can't even name anymore. Rate, review, give us those 5 stars. Steve Madsen, Resonant Complex, what do you got?
Hey, resonantcomplex.com is where you can find links to where you can purchase our debut album, North Avenue, available everywhere music is sold, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, wherever you want to find it. You can find it. Just search the Resonant Complex, and you will see it.
Alrighty, we are going to listen to Resonant Complex on our exit. Miss Holli, say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye.
Hit it.
Do you ever look around and hate what you see? Oh, this world, it isn't what you thought it would.